To Otero County, the regular meeting agenda. At this time, if we could all stand for the invocation.
Let us go to the Lord and pray. Let us pray. Father God, we thank you, Lord, for this morning, God. We thank you, Father, for your grace in each of our lives and on our nation, Father. We thank you, God, for our government, Lord God, and for the freedoms, Lord God, that our government through the Constitution should provide to the people, Father. We just ask, God, that you give each one of us up here today, Lord, that are in elected offices, wisdom, Father, as we handle this agenda, Lord God. May we be focused on the things of your kingdom, Lord God, as we know, Father, that as we do, we will be considerate towards the freedoms and the liberties, Father, that our nation stands for and so many have fought and died for to protect, Lord God, to give us the freedom to gather here today and to speak freely, openly, and to stand, Father God, on the foundations, Father, that you have created, Lord, through those that have gone before us. As we thank you, Father, for this time, and again, Father, we pray, Lord God, for your guidance and wisdom today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. You follow to the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I salute the flag of the state of Mexico, the symbol among friendships among united cultures.
All right. Normally we would have the sheriffs and stuff report, but we're going to jump to the public hearing part, item 1, because it's supposed to be at 9:05. So, Matt?
Morning, Commissioners. Matt Clark, Emergency Services Director.
And I'm Laura Doff, the Executive Director of the South Central Mountain Resource Conservation and Development Council.
And for this public hearing, we'd like to go ahead and have a contract with Southwest RC&D again for working on their fire programs up in the Lincoln.
So with it being open to the public, is there anybody here that has any questions on this item here, or have they signed up to talk on this item particular? Is there anybody? Nobody has any questions, no?
That's the way I like it.
We know it's a good work and one that's very well needed right now. As we look at the weather patterns right now, my prayers are with everybody up on the mountain or anywhere around any kind of areas that could be hit hard by fire. But yeah, we know that there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and we support that work. And I support this agenda item.
Matt, are they having like meetings, schooling, if anybody needs to come to a deal and kind of learn, talk about it, any kind of fire safety tips?
What we are doing, because we do usually have a very strong community outreach program where we do meet with private property owners, we do inspections on properties, we advise as far as fire-wise principles, where they need to thin, those types of things. We usually take advantage of things like the Otero County Fair and any kind of home and garden shows where we can meet with the public. Because of the pandemic, we have not been able to do as much of that. So what we are doing is we're kind of pivoting, and we're developing a very robust social media program to where we're able to get that information out via Facebook, via Instagram. We are revising our website so that we can kind of be a repository of best practices for how to thin your properties, you know, what the fire-wise principles are, what resources are available to people in Otero County and Lincoln County. So that's kind of what we've done. We certainly, once we're able to get back into the public and meet on a one-on-one basis, we'll resume those activities. But in the meantime, we're trying to find new and better ways to communicate with people so the message still gets out.
You know, I earlier this year I went down to Chaparral, the prison there, and met with, had the opportunity to visit with Warden Martinez about the possibility of tapping into that, in the inmate population, to maybe do some of this type of work in regards to our forest and cleanup, and he was very responsive to it. He said that he could. You know, he had a pod of 72 men that he could put together pretty quickly.
And I know that the Forest Service has used inmates previously on the Lincoln. I know of at least 2 times that they have done it almost as kind of a job skill type
Sure.
thing, to be able to get those guys learning
Sure.
a new opportunity to, what they can do when they are finished with serving their sentence. But they have done that at least twice that I'm aware of. They have worked with an inmate population, and that's where the crews have come out and done the hand thinning, working under, of course, fire bosses who are, able to actually, and Matt knows more about all of the different requirements about getting your cards and that type of thing, but I know that we have participated in several of those instances. So working with the Forest Service, that would certainly be another opportunity to do that.
And if we definitely, I can't speak directly for my fellow commissioners, but I would assume that they would both be very well on board as well, as far as any kind of way the county could assist any type of program like that. Because in my opinion, like you say, as far as building the work ethic and the discipline and stuff, a lot of the things that many of our inmates lack, they could possibly develop in a program like this to actually get them rehabilitated where they know how to work, and it would be I don't think it could be a better environment to have them in, because it wouldn't be directly out in the public like if we had them around town working. There'd be much more liability if we had them in the forest where they're disengaged from community, but it'd be easier to contain and control and monitor. So any way that, if there was any way that the county could help assist in any kind of these programs like this, let us know. Let's do it, because I feel like that's a great way to rehab. I know that Walt.
Go ahead, Walt.
Walt Kaufman, Weed, New Mexico. I didn't hear mention the volunteer fire departments. They're an integral part of every community up here. And also, I believe in the county's guidelines for the fire departments, the FireWise program fits in very well with that. So I'm wondering, I'd ask what the plans are to involve those local fire departments.
We have involved the local fire departments, particularly in things like we just completed the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. We did meet with all of the fire chiefs from all of the volunteer fire departments. We have probably, that's one of those outreach programs that we weren't able to do so much of last year. But absolutely, we work with, that's one of the programs New Mexico State Forestry is very proud of, working with our volunteer fire departments, and we help coordinate a lot of that information, getting the materials to the folks. Rick Merrick is our rural community forester. Unfortunately, he's been battling cancer this last year, so some of this, the contact with the volunteer fire departments probably has not been as strong as it could have been. We still have high hopes that he'll be able to continue to, the job and get back to us. He has gone part-time right now, but we have hired our former district ranger up on the Smoky Bear district. Jody Canfield is going to be stepping in and being able to continue some of those efforts. So absolutely, we consider our volunteer fire departments outstanding partners and collaborators, and we try and work as closely as we can with those folks.
Matt, is this in coordination with the slash pit and everything up there too, or is that totally different? That through strictly the county? Or?
It is different, but the slash pit is there for all of the residents to use.
Any other questions on, any other comments? This item we need to vote on, right?
No, there's no vote.
This is
It's
just
public.
discussion?
Yeah.
And we appreciate you. Keep
Thank
up the
you
good
so
work.
much. Yep,
Thank
thank
you
you for
very
your
much.
work on this. We need it.
We'll back up a little bit. Sheriff Black, would you like to do your report?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good
Steve
morning.
Black, Otero County Sheriff. Have my program all typed out, and I left it laying on my desk, so I jotted some notes down if I remember it all here. Sheriff's Office for the month of March responded to 2,458 calls for service, resulted in 165 case reports, investigated 45 accidents, issued 100 citations, and it resulted in 127 arrests for the month. In narcotics, they executed 12 search warrants, 9 arrests, seizing meth, heroin, marijuana, and I think we had kind of discussed a possibility of some fentanyl and stuff that they were working on. With the search warrant, they were able to seize approximately 500 pills of fentanyl before it got onto our streets. That come out to about $58,000 worth of drugs that were seized through our narcotics. Our manning, we are still a few positions down, but we do have 2 cadets in the academy. The last report from the academy is they're doing extremely well up there. Brian Cost, the director of the Law Enforcement Academy, complimented us on their preparedness for the academy. We implemented a pre-academy training to give them some kind of an idea of what they were getting into before they got there. I know when I went in blind. I spent hours and hours and hours studying at night and stuff, you know, trying to be prepared for everything. We basically implemented a program that they got this training prior to going to the academy, you know, briefly with everything. So Brian Koss said it shows in their test scores and their abilities up there. He said whatever we're doing, keep doing it because it makes a big difference. We do have one person in background phase right now for a transport and court security position. And we did some interviews yesterday. We had 3 candidates for dispatch position. After the interviews, I had Deb Sanderson, our dispatch supervisor, came to me and she was like, I wish we had 3 positions. She said, we don't often have candidates of this caliber. They could use all 3 of them. So, but we'll get the ball rolling on that. One of them comes to us with dispatch experience and prior training in the Spielman RMS system. So that would be a big help to us. Community service programs, those have kind of been put on hold a little bit, but we were able to work with the Otero Prison on a couple of deals down there. Otero Prison got some books for elementary aged kids. We partnered with them and were able to distribute those to numerous kiddos in the Chaparral area down there. And just the other day we had some food baskets we were able to acquire. Again, we partnered with the prison facility and they assisted us in delivering some food baskets to some needy families in the Chaparral area. So that partnership with the prison down there was really a good one. Nisi Jimenez has been a great help on working a lot of that stuff with this. So vehicles, I wanted to report that, you know, we got the capital outlay money. We were able to purchase 7 vehicles. I have 6 of the vehicles on hand right now. We're waiting on a F-250, one of our mountain trucks. It couldn't be ordered until the end of March, so it has been ordered. We won't receive it for a couple of months. The other 6, they are in the upfitting phase right now, getting emergency equipment and stuff like that put into it. So we're we're moving along. We're getting a lot of old vehicles out of patrol. So, and again, we're working on getting the proper paperwork and stuff done with Jurgen so that we can start getting some of these vehicles to auction and get them out of here. But again, I will have some more vehicles that if it is needed somewhere else with the county department, I will contact them and let them know that they can come look. If they need one, they're more than welcome to take it before it goes to auction. So that's kind of about where we're at now. If you have any questions?
Have you found anything out on our horse episode deal up there in the mountains? With the horses getting killed?
Yeah, we have. We've spoke with Skylar Davis with the Livestock Board. Here's kind of the conundrum right now. There was a group in the northern part of the state that filed a lawsuit, and basically, at the end of the judge ruled, this group up there did not want the horses to be listed as livestock since they're wild horses. So with his decision, it took those horses out of the livestock section and it placed them in a feral animal section. So shooting those horses would be no different than shooting a coyote, any kind of animal like that. That decision has made it a very tough spot for us, for the livestock board. I know they had a bill that they were trying to pass to redo that, put them back in that section. It didn't make it out of committee. So right now, again, Skylar, we talked with him probably Friday, I believe, of last week. And that's kind of where it stands right now. I mean, they're still looking into it. I know they've done some necropsies on a couple of the horses to try to recover projectiles and stuff like that, but kind of where it stands right now, it's nothing different than shooting a coyote. So it's a bad situation.
I know there's some angry people up there around that Wimpton area and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I've spoke with a few of them. I've tried to explain that, I mean, we're going to do what we can do. It's just right now, we don't see that there is any way we can actually file charges on somebody for that.
What about gathering them up? And, I mean, if they're just roaming through town or roaming in the community, I mean, can people, can people go and catch them and take them and do something with them? Or, I mean, are they protected somehow? Or what would be the legalities as far as just going up there and catching them and loading them in a trailer and hauling them off somewhere?
Depends on where they're at. On private property, that's one thing. Federal lands within the Lincoln National Forest, can't touch them.
Yeah.
And they had a guy hired 3-4 years ago. Elton Morgan went up there and trapped a whole bunch of them and took them. There was a decision sent down after that you cannot trap them, you cannot take them off of federal land. They're trying to keep them from being destroyed, is what the deal is. So,
but somebody's got private property up there and they got those horses are coming in there and getting in their yard and in their garden and everything else, and they should be able to haul them off and deal with, I mean, I don't know. I'm not necessarily on the wild horse bandwagon, I mean, I believe that horses need to be, they're not a wild animal, they're a feral animal, they need to be, they need their teeth worked on, they need their feet done, they don't do well in the wild elements, I mean, they need their shots, so.
And the only way we could do anything we have to prove either ownership or domestication. And whether we find a brand, the story is totally different.
Yeah.
None of these have a brand on them.
You probably just drifted off to Mescalero Apache, probably.
Yes, sir.
Well,
It's a touchy subject, I mean.
yeah.
I don't agree with it as far as, them going up and killing them. But,
Yeah.
I mean, God, the laws sometimes just handcuff us to where we can't do anything, you know, until we get it changed.
Sure.
Some of the
On
ones-
it, oh, I'm sorry.
Some of those ones that you almost want to put them out of their misery, they're in such bad shape and everything, and so inbred, but it's still a little, I mean, I hate to see any horse get killed just because he's standing there eating some grass, you know?
Right, totally agree.
Well, you know, it's, the most sensible thing to do would be to have processing plants opened up and be making dog food with the horses that, you know, aren't usable animals. I mean, that's just my opinion, and I don't think that's what we do by not having processing plants here in America, is they open them up across the border in Mexico where there's no regulation, and it is very inhumane, and then these guys are shipping them down to Mexico and they're killing them down there, and then you're hauling crippled horses hundreds of miles on their side and then killing them in very inhumane conditions, where we could euthanize them by stopping their heart in a very humane way here, and then we could process their carcasses and make dog food or glue or whatever and get some good out of them. But that's a whole nother subject.
Yeah.
But on another note, you know, in regards to our border situation, as we know, is blowing up again. Do you have, whenever you have crimes, or you stop and cite people, with their legal status, is that public information? Are you keeping data as far as how many illegals are involved in crimes and violent crimes or drug seizures? Are you where you can see how that's doing in regards to what the border's doing? And
Yes, if they commit a crime, if they are arrested for a crime, we can track that on this new system. If we stop them for, just, you know, we come in contact with them for a non-criminal element, you know, we can't even ask them the status of their citizenship or anything like that. The federal government's got it to where we as law enforcement, the only people that can do that is Border Patrol. You know, there's times that we have requested their assistance because now we got a truck with 20 of them in it, and we have to turn it over to them. But we as law enforcement, we can't even ask anything as far as their citizenship.
so God forbid, in the future, if things continue down here, we could have groups walking up 54 from El Paso towards Otero County, and you wouldn't have the legal right to be able to stop and see what their legal status is, or where they're coming from, or where they're going.
We would have to notify Border Patrol and have them respond to do that.
Yep. How's Border Patrol is just getting annihilated again. I mean, it wasn't that long ago whenever our secondary checkpoints were shut down because of the situation. So it's a matter of time, and the Border Patrols, all their resources are going to be exhausted, and they're going to be babysitting instead of keeping our communities
Keeping
and
checkpoints
drugs out of
open.
our communities.
Yep, totally agree.
But I don't know. I guess it's their baby now.
That's all the questions I have. You have any?
No, I don't think so. Just appreciate all the work you're doing and all your guys are doing.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, David.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
David. Emergency service report.
Good morning, Commissioners. Matt Clark, Emergency Services Director.
Good morning.
On the code enforcement side, we have 26 cases that they're following up on. They've opened up 5. We've had 2 of my code enforcement officers have been in class, so they haven't been out there as much, and we really plan on getting out there a lot more, especially now we're still in yellow, and residents can do a lot more as far as getting out. but getting out there and trying to start cleaning up the areas.
Is this in regards to my issue in Chaparral?
It absolutely is. We lit a fire. We're having problems with the fire reporting system that is run by the government. Access has been very limited this month, so it doesn't look as like we've done as much, but the fire departments have been out there quite a bit. We responded to 92 calls for service. We've had 5 structure fires and 9 other fires. I do know we had another potential wildland fire up in Timberon the other day, where someone's burn pit, they thought they put the fire out. The winds came up in the morning and told the homeowner otherwise. Fortunately, it was stopped at a quarter of an acre, and he did not lose his home, just really close to it. Responded to 43 EMS calls, for a total of 92 calls this month. The slash pit is open, and they've already taken in 25 loads from residents. It's looking, they're all happy. There's plenty of room up there for the slash pit to accept everything. So, looking forward to that program continuing.
Are they mulching up there, or are they hauling it down and then mulching it down here?
No, we did that prescribed burn, so we got actually 100% burn out of that slash pit. So everything that was brought in the last weekend, they chipped and laid out because the ground was still kind of muddy, and dressed it up so the residents will have places to do it. But no, we chip everything up there. And that is what I have for you.
Well, Matt, we appreciate the
Yeah.
work. I am very strong about this deal in Chaparral.
I am too.
It was, when you get called down there by him, it's John Folkwick, it was, he didn't call you unless there was an issue. So,
Right.
Bill and I went over it, and then also, Matt, I don't know if you will be part of this too, but Bill and I went through the chamber. I don't know if he talked to you about that.
He did talk to me about that, and we're going to help support that the best that we can.
Okay, good. Yeah, this needs to turn into a community.
Absolutely.
Not just departments, community needs to get out, make this place pretty again.
Absolutely, and we're going to support that however we can. I fully agree with it, everything that Bill reported back to me on
Okay. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay. Road Department, Mr. Porter?
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Porter, Otero County Road Department. The last month, we've been cleaning up around Russia Canyon, culverts repaired, calling Inch Minus, Toe Prather, Oro Grande, Chatfield, 506, Cornucopia, Wills Canyon, Dog Canyon, and Riata Road. Patching in the Chaparral area, we've been on a blitz down in there. We're finally able to get some cold mix. Finished patching in Riata to chip seal it next week, and did some patching up on Thunder Road. Been mowing throughout the county, and we have begun the spray program for the African rue. We actually have had the crew out there for the last 2 weeks. We had 2 minor snow events that we had to run the salt trucks on. Riata, they're pouring concrete. They've got a bunch of the footings finished up on that, and the caissons are all poured except for 2, I do believe. CenturyLink will be moving their short haul next Wednesday.
It's already sleeved. I mean, this pipe conduit's already in, isn't it? Or-
Yes.
Yeah. So all they gotta do
They've
is.
done the board, they're doing their splice next week on the fiber. The copper, they still trying to work on a schedule on what they're gonna do for that.
Perfect.
Sounds like you've been busy.
A little bit. Starting next week, we'll be doing chip sealing, we'll be beginning doing the project starting next week, we'll be starting on Riata.
You know, I was thinking about how many roads we have in Otero County, the distance, and if you get on your map and you go from Alamogordo, New Mexico to Columbia, South Carolina, where I used to live, it's about the distance of the roads we maintain. So you guys have a big job.
Otero County has the same number of miles of road as the state District 2 has in your entire district.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a big number of those roads are down there on the mesa,
Mhm.
half the mileage, which is, I don't understand some of those, but I guess there's a reason for them.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Carolyn, detention?
Morning.
Morning, Carolyn.
Morning.
Carolyn Barella, Correctional Services Director for Otero County Detention Center. Today's population, we have 160 individuals. In-house, I have 138, 116 males and 25 females. Out of our facility in Otero Prison, I have 6. In Hudspeth County, I have 13. And at the Department of Corrections, I have 3. For juveniles, I only have 1 female, and she is housed at the Doña Ana County Detention Center. So, things going on in the facility. A memo was put out at the beginning of the week advising that we're going to begin visitation just at least once a day, once during the week, which would be on Saturdays. And that will be done, it's scheduled visits. One person can come out to visit with them as long as they're not on discipline. And we don't allow anyone other than just the one adult. No children, nothing. So, you know, trying to watch our COVID guidelines and make sure everybody's safe. We had our weekly meeting with construction that involves the construction company, a couple from the construction company, the project manager, myself, and my maintenance. And we kind of went over a few things that will impact us here in the next few months. So we're trying to get ahead of that and stay ahead. One of them being that the laundry room. When the laundry room is taken apart so that they can redo the whole room, we won't have any washers or dryers. So we haven't gotten any definite dates or the length of the project. But so what we're trying to do is I'm reaching out to vendors that offer these type of services, see what would be our best, wouldn't cost as much, yet get the job that we need done. So the things that we're looking at that people don't, you don't realize about is, we have to make sure that the blankets, the sheets, the towels, uniforms, their individual whites are laundered. And that happens throughout the week. So, like I said, I've reached out to vendors trying to get some pricing, see what would work best for the facility, and we're going to try and come up with some type of a schedule so that it, because it's going to affect the whole entire facility on how this works. And as we get closer and I have definite, more approximate dates, then it'll help to be able to reach out to those vendors and say, this is when we're going to do it, and this is how long it's going to take. Now, there might be times where we may, as staff, have to actually go and do some washing and, laundering some things. So we're going to try to not have as many. We did that one year where our washers and dryers both went out, and it took a week for them to get back up. So staff all, assisted, and we were at the laundromat and we were washing everything and getting it folded and getting it back to the inmates as quickly as possible. So we will do that again if it's necessary.
Carolyn, do they make, for when this notification happened, do they make a mobile unit that maybe we could rent for a month or something that could come out with, they have like forest fires, they have the portable showers and, sinks and stuff like that. Do they have any type of a portable unit that we could maybe rent to help you?
I'm not sure. I had spoke with Matt sometime last year, or maybe it was the year before when we were talking about this. And I know that he was going to look into it. I just haven't had a chance to get with him. I've just been trying to reach out to what we have locally and close to us, Las Cruces to see what we could do. But we don't have anything definite yet. So that is something we can look at. I don't know how they would do that, because right now, the other thing is the kitchen. And we will have units out there for the kitchen. We'll actually have 3 units. And I know Trent will probably go into, on his report, more details, but we'll have 3 units. One will be the main one that'll have the actual wash areas, and it'll have the stove, and it'll have the prep areas. And then the other 2 will be 1 freezer and 1 refrigerator, and they'll be side to side, all 3 of them. And they will face the facility. I have asked for a perimeter fence around those areas, because we will have inmates that are inmate workers out there working in those areas. So we will have those. As far as, like I said, the washer and dryer, I'm not sure if they have anything. They might, but I don't know how expensive that would be, and if we could even get anything, depending on, again, what the dates are and how quickly that comes.
How long of a span are you looking at? You don't know, it's indefinite?
We don't know yet.
You know, if you've got the washers and the dryers, you just need something, I mean, even like a storage container, if you could, I don't know if you could work with Trent and maybe a contractor or something, guys could get you a storage container and just put your washers and dryers inside of that. I mean, I don't know, I think that, you know, if you're looking at hauling everything to a laundromat, that's gonna be, when you're talking about hundreds of as much laundry as y'all do. It's not like just doing a few loads a week, but
Right.
you know, I think it could possibly be more feasible to get some kind of a portable building or a storage container and just get your washers and dryers, and you'd have to run some water and electric in it, but that would be easy, just run it all on the outside, and I don't know. I don't know.
I think our dryers are gas.
I guess.
And what we would do is these services that I've reached out to, they would be the ones to pick them up, take them, and deliver them back to us. Like I said, not everything, it just would depend on how we structure it. But we would look into it and see what we can find as far as maybe something on site if we could.
Yeah, it's
If we
gonna be
can.
expensive to have an outside service coming and doing all your laundry for you. And
Yeah, it
taking
will.
it, going and
It could.
picking it up and taking it back and folding it whenever you have all those inmates out there that could be doing all that labor and all that work.
Well, that's.
I mean, you just need a place to do it at. I mean, if the county had to, maybe if we had to lease a little building or something around here where you could have your washroom in it, I don't know, I just think that we definitely need to look at all the options instead of just going with the linen service and
Okay.
you know, I don't know.
Because all those washers and dryers are gonna have to be removed and stored somewhere whenever
Exactly.
that
Yes.
part of the work
Everything will
starts
have to
anyway.
come out.
So, what kind of numbers are you talking about?
As far-
Machines.
Are you talking about what we'll have in there eventually, or what you say what we have now?
What you're gonna have to pull out right now, how many machines are you using to do daily business?
We have 2 washers and 2 dryers.
Well, that wouldn't be that hard to try to find something,
Yeah.
even a little portable.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we leased something or rented something real.
Yeah, I guess it would just depend on if the utilities could be run to it, depending on where would we put it, you know, because we're running out of space in the front of the building and to the
Yeah.
side, so we would have to talk with construction.
I'd exhaust some ideas for you signing up with, you know, even if, like Gerald said, if it was a tough shed or a storage container or something, just to put those machines in, and, yeah, I mean, if it just boils down to running gas and water, that's not that hard to do.
Okay, all right,
Because
we'll
those
look
are
at
the
it.
real tall, big machines, aren't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, the washers are the front loaders, and of course the dryers are the big machines.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, the kitchen, we'll have those set in place, but we haven't gotten approximate dates and how long the actual project will take for that area. This morning, we'll have the construction workers going into our female pods, one at a time, to look at the areas that we hope to begin some of the small projects within each of those pods. And then we're anticipating we'll be able to give them back one of the other pods so that they can go in and complete it. We have to kind of take it back for quarantine purposes, and so that we're hoping to get it to them at the end of the month, and so they can start on the construction in there as well. Radios, we have already placed our order for, since you gave me permission to be able to utilize some of our budget, so the radios are on order. The tilt skillet, I have to get just some specs and get those to purchasing so that they can order that, so I'm hoping I can get that done before the end of the week, and they can get our tilt skillet on order. About a week or 2 weeks ago, we did a test and interviews. We were able to get one individual hired. We have test and interviews tomorrow with 4 applicants, so we're hoping that that goes good. And of course, we're still short, but you know, at least it's a positive. So hopefully everything will get better.
So you're still at 14, 15?
Yeah, we're about, I'd say approximately about 13.
How are you coming on the work release when the people can get out to go to their jobs?
Well, the only thing that with that is I don't have any place to put them. One of them is going to be an inmate worker, so he'll be working in the kitchen. The other individual will be released tomorrow from the facility.
Oh, okay.
And so that's all we have right now at this point.
Okay.
All right.
It's a full-time job
I
right
don't
there.
Yeah.
have anything else. I just probably encourage you whenever, to just try to make sure the contractor, and Trent, if you can too, make sure the contractor on the kitchen makes that window as tight as possible, you know, just, you know, I mean, instead of leaving you, when they need to put all hands on deck whenever they go to tackle your kitchen and get it knocked out, so we don't have to have other amenities out there, and it's just gonna be more of a costly burden the longer our kitchen's down to the county, so.
Oh, believe me, I'm on them to be, when are we getting it back? Because, you know, we need every space we can get.
Yep, okay.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Carolyn.
Okay, you're up next, buddy.
Morning, Commissioners. How are y'all this morning?
Good morning.
All right. So the detention center. As far as the laundry goes, we initially looked into possibly putting in like a storage container. There's a lot of issues with that. We're regulated to have a lint trap. So by the time you spend money temporarily putting one of those in, because they're gas, it has to be properly ventilated. By the time you run all that, the water needed, the drainage to tie into the sewer and all that stuff, you're going to spend 10 times what you're going to spend outsourcing it for that temporary amount of time. So it's more cost effective to try to outsource it.
Okay.
Did you
Just
ever check, see if there was any kind of a... like
We're
a standalone station?
still looking into that and seeing what the cost of associated with that would be as well. 'Cause, yeah, again,
Whatever's
if
most
a temporary
feasible, I
unit
mean.
costs more than what outsourcing it for 90 days is, I mean, it's kind of down to the what's our best value for our dollars.
Sure.
Kitchen the same way, and you know, we have tentatively a 6-week time period on that kitchen, that the kitchen will be down, to avoid any unforeseens, because this is a remodel, so there's a lot of possibility for unforeseens, and those are what can hold up and make the time go longer. So what we're working with is the contractor's going to go in ahead of time before we need to down the kitchen and explore some of the areas that we're concerned with might be some unforeseens, just so that we can get those taken care of previous and have arrangements already made to take care of those items previous to the work being done. So we're trying to keep it as tight as possible in the kitchen as well, because that's a pretty heavy cost for these mobile units to be on site. So we want to keep it a shorter period of time as possible, but we've been making a lot of strides out there. We had a lot of pending change orders in place that were being negotiated. We got a lot of that settled with a meeting this week to proceed with all of those pendings, with the option the contractor would have to produce the proper documentation for any delay times and delay periods at a later date. So we're progressing on with that. We'll also be discussing in a meeting that'll be scheduled probably within the next week to discuss any charge or no charge delay days, because some days are out of everybody's hands with materials being held up, with manufacturers being shut down for periods of time and stuff like that. So that'll all be negotiated and worked out. We did start having weekly sequencing meetings, which have helped, I think, with communication between all parties to get everybody on the same board of where we want to go when we start impacting the interior of the current operation of the facility. So I think we've got things going in the right direction at the detention center at this point. Still more stuff to negotiate and get agreed upon, but it's all in the process. Any questions for the detention center?
No.
Timberon Fire Station, we finally did the bid opening on the 25th for this project. It's on your consent agenda today to award that to White Sands Construction. We are recommending that we accept the base bid, alternate 1, 2, 3A, and 3B. With this, we remain 21% under our budget, so that's good news for this project. We're looking forward to getting that started within the months. It's been a long road, but now that we have all the funding, it'll be, I think, a good thing. So we're trying to get that built before the winter months. Chin's Phase 3, we finally got agreements for all the funding for that in place, and so we're working on getting the bid documents together so that we can put that one out for bid and get the final third phase of that project complete, which will include the roof, the kitchen, and the multi-purpose area. The EOC, we're installing ceilings and doing the final finishes on all the offices. We're hoping that we get to retain our possible funding for it, so that we can put a new roof and upgrade insulation and keep that project going in the right direction. I think that's about all I have.
Yep.
Sounds like you've been busy too.
Appreciate you, Trent. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Trent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. That's what we're doing on the original part. We'll take it to the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they want pulled?
I'd like to pull 7 just to make comment.
7?
Yep.
I know.
Let's go through and we'll read all the consent and then we'll come back and discuss 7.
Okay.
Okay? Consent agenda items 2, request approval of accounts payable bills list BL number 36, BL number 37, BL number 38, and BL number 39. Item number 3, request approval of March 11th, 2021 regular meeting minutes. Number 4, request approval of healthcare assistance claims, deposition claims for April 2021. 5, request approval of resolution number 04-08-21/109-50 to auction vehicles through Gov Deals on an online auction service. Item 6, request approval of resolution number 04-08-21/109/51 budget adjustment, rifle rain lead abatement. Item number 8, request approval to award sealed bid 21-015 petroleum product contractor to vendors CNR Distributing, LLC, El Paso, Texas, and Brewer Oil Company Las Cruces, New Mexico. This is a one-year contract with the option to renew for 3 additional years, not to exceed a total of 4 years. Number 9, request approval to award seal bid 21-016 Timberon Fire Station to White Sands Construction for the base bid amount of $739,000, not including acceptable taxes. Total award $1,104,000, which includes base bid, alternate 1, maybe it'll quit in a minute. Apologize for that. I don't even know where it's at in there. Okay, where was I at? On number 9, base bid, alternate 1, alternate 2, alternate 3A, and 3B. 10, request approval to award seal bid 21018 truck scales for the convenience center. Award to Fairbanks Scales for the amount of $111,362. Number 11, request approval of memoranda of understanding between Otero County and the New Mexico Department of Public Safety for the fiscal year 2020 State Homeland Security Grant Program OPSG Stone Garden Grant in the amount of $150,734.27. All right. Motion for approval on those consent items?
Yep.
Somebody want a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's open discussion for item number 7. Request approval for RFP 21-06 lead abatement for the rifle range to Metal Treatment Technology LLC, Arvindad, Colorado, for the amount of $105,360 plus acceptable taxes. The rifle range is short of funds due to the project by $33,010.85. Rifle range manager is requesting the additional funds to award complete project costing $112,010.85 to include taxes.
Yeah, I just wanted to pull this in, Mark, from the rifle ranges here, Mark, you know that I appreciate all y'all's efforts out there, work at the rifle range. Wanted people to know that I'm an extremely strong supporter of the Second Amendment, which y'all know. I just see the budget as we've had our recent budget hearings. The rifle range is just blowing up out there on their budget requests. I don't know how many the budget about tripled, I believe, this last budget hearing. If I'm right, I don't know. I don't want to step over my bounds, but it was somewhere around 3 times the money this year that we had last year in support of the rifle range. And again, I support the rifle range. I want to see the rifle range continue to do well, but we have a lot of financial strain in our county, and just something like this, $33,000 for this lead abatement, whenever I see that, I think about our 4-H clubs, I think about our senior centers, I think about our other infrastructure that is vital, like Ralph from the transfer station, or Tom with our roads. Those are departments that we have to fund in order to keep things functioning and flowing. And if we begin to put a lot of money in other places like the rifle range, that's just going to be taking money away from our elderly, from our children, from our roads, from our infrastructure that is vital, again, to keeping things moving, our sheriff's department. So I just want to, as I mentioned in the last budget hearing, you know, if we're to truly stand on conservative ground, we're to stand on limited government and try to protect every dollar that comes in our tax base. So, yeah, but I'll vote for this. I know that we had already approved it before, and we didn't do it, and then it wound up costing us more money because we didn't act on it before than it's going to cost us now. But again, we have 4-H, we have senior citizens, we have children, we have elderly that we need to focus on. I believe, in my opinion, which I believe I'm still granted one, we really need to focus on those areas because, you know, I believe our children are getting shorter right now in many ways, and I believe that our rifle range could be much more self-sufficient. But if you want to,
Greetings, salutations. Mark Douglas.
Honey Mark.
Don't touch it, it's lead. Okay, I'll give you some history on this. Mr. Richards, would you please come forward? I appreciate it. Everything you say is true, but the rifle range also has responsibility, and you as commissioners have a responsibility to the shooting public.
Sure.
I'd like to introduce George Richards. Please introduce yourself.
Nice to meet you. And let's be mindful of people's time here too, because
There's gonna be
everybody
a few
didn't come
minutes.
to listen. Okay. Thank you.
So, could you tell us about this?
So my name is George Richards. I'm a National Rifle Association training counselor. I train trainers. We hold classes at the Sidney Paul Gordon shooting range. My wife and I are based out of Elephant Butte. We travel here. We stay in hotels here. We eat in restaurants here. We train students from as far away as Hobbs, Carlsbad, Roswell, Albuquerque, and El Paso. Students as far away as Midland, Texas, and Dallas, Texas have attended our training on these ranges. So if we looked at a direct economic impact, lead abatement aside, of the range, the way that we use the range, the students that we're bringing into our classes, 5 to 10 at a time, are coming from outside of this area. Less than 1% of our student body comes from the basin. Okay, so we're bringing folks from out of town, they're coming here, they're partaking in the local flair of Alamogordo, the Tularosa Basin, staying in hotels and spending their money here in their local economy. The story behind the ricochet. This is a ricochet. If y'all want to see it, you can play with it. Just don't touch it because it's lead. It's about the size. That's about 3/4 inch, maybe 5/8. We were shooting on the 27th. We were holding a carbine class at the SPG range. On the law enforcement range, because that's the appropriate range for the distances we were shooting at. And this actually struck me in the head as a ricochet from the general purpose bay next door. There was a shooting match going on that occupied every bay on the range that brought people from all over this county and all over the state to compete. And at the time when we were holding our class, I was not the only one struck. I was just the only one smart enough to pick it up because I knew I was coming here. We've been training at the SPG now for at least 2 years. Mark's been very gracious in the way that he accommodates the training that we conduct. And there has not been a single time that I've occupied GP4 or the law enforcement range where my wife is also a certified instructor. She teaches and she runs our ranges as a chief range safety, where she has been struck or our students have been struck by ricochets. That is directly related to the lead abatement. The lead abatement is going to do 2 things. It will eliminate potentially thousands of tons of this out of the berms that are in the backstop that, to my knowledge, have never been abated for lead. And these create more ricochets when they're embedded in the dirt. I'm certified by the NRA as a range developer, so I can talk smartly about this stuff. It also addresses the idea of rocks. There are rocks as big as my head. My head is pretty big. For y'all sitting in the back, you can test it up. These large rocks that are embedded in the berm by NRA standards are not approved. Hard items in the backstop are to be removed because they promote ricochet, and they promote ricochet as direct as reciprocal to the shooter. So as we shoot, and as we continue to shoot, and as we continue to pour thousands of rounds of lead into the backstop, we're not only contributing to the lead deposits that are already there, but we are receiving spall and ricochet from the existing metal and rock deposits in the backstop of the berm. Pardon me. So we travel, our students travel, we come to the range, we expect to be safe. It's not that your range is an unsafe environment, but most certainly ricochets are a hazard to all people who use the range, whether they're a hazard in the bay that you are occupying or the bay next door.
Thank you. Now, you mentioned that the budget has, and then I'll get on, the budget has grown tremendously. You mentioned like 2 or 3 times. This is not, what isn't mentioned is that you're looking at large single purchase items to improve the range, items that are going to be good for the next 20 to 30 years. So yes, it makes the budget, when you look at it from the surface, oh my gosh, it went from 160 to 190 to $300,000. Remember, the first time I asked you guys for budget, it was $500,000. But this is for major one-time improvements that should be done to any shooting range. Storage facilities, the Connex boxes, things of that nature. These are not, you know, to say that my budget is going to go to $300,000 for every year from now on, that's incorrect. Okay, and you know that because you came out to the range and you were given a tour of the range and you were shown those things, and you know those are one-time purchases, not to be done every single year. So yes, on the surface,
Mark,
you see that and you freak out.
Yes, sir. But the
Okay.
more it grows, I mean, now you need more fuel. Now you need more maintenance requests. It's a growth. It's growing, and it's going to be more strenuous on.
Shooting ranges require maintenance. Okay, maintenance costs money with labor costs, fuel costs, things of that
And
nature.
all I'm saying is
So-
we just need to focus on, you know, you have men and you have groups that come in. You come in and you utilize the range, and we just need to have more of a business approach to the range where it's more self-sufficient and you operate more inside of the money that you generate, just like the Fair Board does. The Fair Board, they put on events to fund the things that they want to do. That's the self-sustained.
And the range can do that as well, but the range needs to have certain assets or resources there in order to bring business in. We have a pistol competition match that uses all 4 bays. If we had additional bays, it would grow from a local shooting match competition to a regional, which would draw people in from about 4 different states, which of course would bring in more money. The revenue issue, I'm not even going to touch that because, you know, I've said my piece on that, but that's something that we will address at a later date, and that's revenue, the costs to use the facility.
But you start small and you grow. I started a barbecue restaurant from absolutely nothing, and I grew it into 3 different places. And I didn't start with 3 places, I grew it there.
And the range has been in
We need to think
existence.
the same way with the range. We need to think growing it internally and not just becoming.
The range was started in 1993. That's 28 years ago.
Sure.
Okay, 10 years later, it was expanded, 4 more bays were built on it. 10 years later, Mesa Verde donated that. That was the last time anything major was done to that range. That was 19 years ago.
Okay.
Okay, 19 years ago. This lead abatement project will be the largest project that the county is paying for their facility. 19 years.
I got you. And whenever I pulled this, I said, I'm going to vote for it. I support it. I didn't know, I mean, I know that it's a need. I know that it's the concern and the liability issue.
It is a liability issue.
Growing. So, but the only reason why I wanted to pull it is just to once again be conscious that we could wind up spending a lot of money out at the rifle range while we're not funding the areas in which I feel like really need to be funded, and that's our infrastructure and particularly our children over here. But let's go ahead and make a motion and vote on it.
One quick question, Mark. Is this like an EPA requirement thing that's supposed to be done? That-
So the NRA recommends, if not annual, biannual survey of the lead and then abatement as necessary. The idea that it hasn't been done in 20, how many? 28 years, potentially?
Yes.
Yeah.
That presents a pretty considerable problem.
I just was curious if it was a federal requirement on.
Yeah, lead abatement is a federal requirement. Rifle ranges are very loosely identified in federal regulations, but the lead abatement is required for ranges.
Okay. Well, do you have a question for Mark and them, or?
I'd like to have some comments to the commissioners about this, because what's been presented is incorrect. I mean, I said that wrong. There's another way to look at this that has not been presented to the commission.
Okay.
And it's unfair for Commissioner Griffin to say, I support this, and pull it off the agenda, and then say, well, it's not really needed, but I'll support it. I'd like to clarify that a little bit.
Okay. You want to come up here, Mark?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Get out of the way.
I just have a couple of comments, and, I understand the commission's busy, and I appreciate your time. My name's Walt Kaufman. I'm from Weed, New Mexico. I'm a shooter, and fair disclosure, I actually use the range once a month for, I don't know, since 2007 or 6, something like that. So I'm familiar with the range. Over the years, there's been huge improvements, especially with this new guy. Anybody that's gone to the range can see it, that there's improvements. And the improvements are not just in the physical plant, but also in the attitude of the employees and the attitude of the management at the range. Makes it a pleasure to shoot there. And you can tell that because you go out and the range is now full, and you have a lot of people wanting to shoot. I kind of object to the way this is characterized. I don't envy you commissioners trying to do budget decisions, because every single one of those cost centers comes to you and says, I'm the most important one. Give us money. We need money. I think that's what Commissioner Griffin's saying. I just wanted to point out that in our Constitution, I don't want to bore you, but there's actually language that supports the activity at the shooting range. Some of these other programs, while wonderful and needed, are not mentioned in the Constitution. So it's something to think about, is that the county should have some obligation to support that Second Amendment. And I think over the years they have done that. Other commissioners have stepped up and said, we support it. The reason that 1993 comes up is because there's support for the Second Amendment. When we had a meeting here, 2 years ago, Mr. Commissioner Griffin, I think it was the biggest meeting we've ever had in Otero County. Second Amendment, there are shooters. And I'll point out, we've had 15 months of record sales of firearms. And a lot of those people are new shooters. There's women, there's old people like me, and whatever. So to support that, this county needs to put some money into the shooting range. To say that the shooting range has to support itself, I think of it as like saying, well, look, the road department has to pay for itself. So we need toll booths on all the roads. Every road needs to have a toll booth so we can recoup the money. And of course, that's silly. The fact is, the shooting range performs a needed function, recognizing the Constitution that this county needs to spend some money on. This is a modest proposal. It's lead abatement's important to do it. He's not asking for a great deal more money to do it. And if he breaks this into 2 parts because he can't get that extra, $30,000, that's going to add to the costs. I think it's silly, personally, in my opinion, to stop this process so we can make a political statement about.
I'm not stopping it, Walt. Whenever I pulled it, I said that I was in favor of it. Do you remember me saying that? And I just said that I want to bring attention that, the budget at the rifle range is going up. As Mark said, they do have some large purchases, which I went out there and I saw, and I support the rifle range. But we just need to have more of an approach to more of a business model where we try to get it a little bit more self-sustainable. Does that mean that we're gonna get it totally self-sustainable? I highly doubt it. But we could come up with some creative ideas to make some money out there to try to soften the impact of our budget request. That's all I'm saying.
So, you know, I'm gonna be facetious, so don't get mad at me. So you're gonna require the road department to pay for itself? My point is that you're,
I don't think that that's a good comparison, comparing roads to a rifle range.
Why?
I'm sorry.
It's in the Constitution.
Because everybody in the whole county uses our road system. Not everybody uses our rifle range. Okay, I think that the road system is a little bit more imperative to the functioning of the county than the rifle range.
I agree with you.
Okay.
But I'm also saying that your business model for a county-supported activity that should be supported by the county, where you say, well, if they can't make money, we should shut them down, or we should curtail until they pay for themselves, that's equally wrong.
Okay.
So, thank you for your
Thank
time.
you for your opinion. Appreciate it.
All right, this time we make a motion for approval of,
I've got another one.
oh, go ahead.
Excuse me.
Yes, this is Matt Ransom again, and I just want to say that, you know, I love guns, so I love guns, absolutely love them, but I do want to say is like, as far as supporting an extracurricular activity like a rifle range, we can't like privatize that in any way, because I'm also in the privatize everything crowd, because I don't think the government should be like funding something like that. I think it really should be privatized, have more business model, so we can start getting some tax bases off that. And that's basically my say. I don't see why, because we have to get financially feasible right here. Can we really afford things like that? Now, like I do agree with the Second Amendment as far as protecting our rights and all that type of stuff, but people can't like, it should really be privatized. That's pretty much what I gotta say.
All right. Make a motion for approval of consent agenda item 7.
I second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That'll take us down to item 12, scheduled citizen communication. Board of Directors for the Timberon Airport Co-op.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good to be here again. I'm Doc of the Timberon Airport Cooperative. Assisting me today is Larry Crawford. He's also a member of the board, and he lives in Timberon, so he has local knowledge much more than I do. Before we go through the presentation, yesterday afternoon, but this morning, I got the bids for the paving, and I know cost is paramount here. It's really bad news. It's worse news than bad news. The engineered, properly FAA spec'd pavement for that airport is going to cost $1,538,000. Obviously, Otero County is not being asked to pay for that, but the good people of the state of New Mexico are being asked to pay for that. I also have estimates for a slightly less engineered or perfect runway in the amount of $949,000, and then a slightly less fancy runway, $789,000. So I don't want perfect to be the enemy of good. The reality is Timberon Airport can do with a lot less than an FAA spec perfect runway, you know, of all things that for all planes at all times. The state has generously offered us probably around $300,000 to $400,000 for the pavement improvement, and possibly another $20,000 or $30,000 for fencing. That leads us to the presentation, and I'll go over our pavement options and our fencing options. If we could have the PowerPoint up. Oh, we have it up. Ahead of me. Okay, we're in phase 2 of the improvement project on the runway and airport. Phase 1, next slide. This is our new, not new, but fairly new welcome splash screen. The next slide, airport history. As you know, this was first put in long ago in an effort to bring in people from the oil fields and sell land in Timberon and get pilots up there who are interested in spending money up in Timberon. The first chip seal was done in the mid-'80s. Second chip seal was done by these commissioners in 2019. Those are both, the first chip seal is in rough condition. The second one is still in flawless, perfect condition. We haven't lost any emulsion, we haven't lost any aggregate, we haven't lost anything. The only minor concern with the second chip seal is we're starting to see a few weeds come up on the southeast end. Another member of the board treated those last week. We continue to treat them, but they're weeds, right? Weeds do what weeds do. We're looking at paving this, and well, paving's going to be a problem. Like I said, I can't have perfect being the enemy of good, but since the state is going to help us out with this, we should have it paved. Next slide. Our current phase 1 has completed. We're open to the public as of February. The new TAC board, myself, and a couple other members were instituted in September. We have a new identifier for the International Civil Aviation, and that's brought us out to the world. Now we're known to the world. Communications frequency has been assigned, and I've changed the traffic pattern for runway 13 for a better, more safe exposure to landing. We also added the helipad to the master record. Before, everybody knew we had a helipad, but it wasn't published as such, so now the world knows we have a helipad. Next slide. This is the beginning of phase 2. Phase 2 deals with infrastructure improvement, and the two most important ones we have are going to be Project A, which is pavement, and we'll talk about pavement here. You can see the grant. I spoke with the state aviation representative and told him that $300,000 wasn't going to be enough, and he said there's a possibility we could add more. So we're looking at probably between $300,000 and $400,000 for paving. Our county attorney has provided us with the statement from the Otero County to the state so that they know that we're going to maintain that as an airport rather than turning it into condominiums sometime in the future. I want you to know that all airports, including Timberon, are an asset to the community. We're just become public, we're ramping up. We've already seen an increase in traffic there. We've seen a slight increase in people asking questions about Timberon, and I've fielded questions about land around Timberon and land at the airport at Timberon. So there is some movement, there is some exposure going on, and that will increase as the spring goes along in summer and into fall. We also have a statement from the firehouse up there. Tony McWilliams has sent us a letter that pavement improvements will allow better access to fixed-wing aircraft which need to service Timberon in the case of an EMS call-out where a rotary wing airplane is not sufficient. Okay, next slide. This is going to get into the engineering of the runway. I don't know how deeply we want to discuss this. My engineering degree is not civil, but I spent enough time with the FAA statements and books and how to create a runway, and this is basically what I came up with. If we start at the bottom, we have a very good clay base. The clay up there is well compacted, and it's hard, and it is very impermeable. So we start with a very, very good clay base. The first chip seal in 1986 was 60 feet wide with 3/4 aggregate plus asphalt emulsion. That was worn badly. The second chip seal you can see in 2019 paved into 50 feet wide. We used 1/2-inch aggregate on that strip. It would be a little more friendly to tires and also a little bit better porosity for the traction. The new substrate we're looking at building, the quotes I got were for 50-foot wide because everybody in the board, except me, wanted a 50-foot wide runway. But the new substrate would be 36 feet, half-inch aggregate. P403 is a specific type of hot mix asphalt. It has a lot of polymers in it to assist in thermal, I guess you would call it thermal equilibrium. We have to work from -10 degrees F up to plus 90 degrees F at Timberon. We have to work with 100% humidity down to 12% humidity. So we need a type of asphalt mix that is highly polymerized, which means it can accept a lot of different variations in humidity and temperature. The surface, the top surface again would be P403, 35 feet wide. Now, as I just mentioned at the start of this, to do this FAA type spec installation for 50 feet wide is $1.5 million. I can't in good conscience ask the state of New Mexico and the people of New Mexico to fund that for Timberon Airport. I have a fiduciary responsibility, even though I'm not a New Mexico resident. I do own land here, and it just is not smart for me to ask for that kind of money for Timberon Airport. So it's not on the slide, but let me give you a kind of an explanation about the limitations of Timberon, and I won't go into too much detail. The things Timberon can never have. We can never have an instrument landing system. We can never have a program where a pilot can approach and land at Timberon by reference to instruments of any kind. No ILS, no GPS, no circling radio approach, nothing. The verges at the end of the runways do not allow for the type of access that would offer an instrument landing system. We can never be a reliever airport. A reliever airport or a regional airport must have an instrument landing system. It must have lighting. We could potentially have lighting, but the increase in risk and the increase in potential for accidents in a lighted situation in the dark valley of Timberon is very high. It's something that I would contemplate and probably argue against, but we could have it. Nonetheless, we could still never be a reliever or a regional airport simply because of the limitations of the terrain and the country around it and the trees and the elk and the deer and the people and the cars. You see where I'm going with this, right? So what I want to propose here is that I'm going to cut this pavement plan down. I'm going to hopefully go with P403 mix because of the polymers in it that offers thermal stability. But I'd like to see it cut back to about a 2.5 inch, 2 3/4 inch thickness, and maybe 35 feet wide. And go ahead with the next slide, please. Now this shows the orientation of the runway with fully paved, striped, numbered, everything. This is 4,960 feet by 50 feet. And we can see the verges on the edge, the gray verge there being the aggregate exposed, and then the brown verge would be the dirt surrounding that. We may have to actually shorten the paved amount if we go 35 feet wide. To get it under $400,000, I'm unlikely to get 4,960 feet in length. More likely, I will get probably ballpark 4,000 feet, 3,800 feet, something like that at 35 feet wide. The problem with that comes in the transition between the new pavement and the existing chip seal. We have a 1:50 ratio of surface variation that we're allowed between different surfaces. So if we kerf into the runway laterally, if we kerf down 2.5 inches, we have to kerf back 12 to 12.5 feet and build that tapered kerf so that the transition from the unpaved chip seal to the paved runway won't cause airplanes to bounce or jump. The minute we kerf into the existing chip seal, we damage our valuable aggregate base. So we would have to go back and put another base underneath that kerf. So there's a lot of things going on here that make this entirely complicated. I won't bore you anymore with that, but this pavement deal, as best I engineered it, to do it properly is $1.5 million. We're going to try and get pavement up there, maybe 30 feet wide, maybe 35 feet wide, maybe 4,960 feet, more likely 3,500 to 4,000 feet with a transition to chip seal. So that's basically the pavement plan. Do you have any questions on that part of it?
I have just one real quick one.
Go ahead.
I'm presuming you're doing this in phases, so how long are you thinking that this is gonna take to do?
Right, I didn't mention the timing. What we need to do is we need to get the bid proposals into the state by May 31st, and I'm hoping to have that completed by mid-May. The grants are issued usually at the end of July, and we can start paving up there in mid to late September. We can't pave after the first, we could, but we should not pave after the first frost.
Right.
So we're looking at moving pretty quickly. We want to get the bids in by mid-May. We want to get the grants completed, hopefully by mid-July, maybe end of July. And if the bid proposals are ready in September, we'll shoot for this fall. Now, I should say that, this is phase two. Phase two is not a single-year plan. Phase two is going to run for at least 3 years. And there's the likelihood that next year, if we ask for another 300 to 400,000, that we can complete the entire 4,960 feet, possibly. But that's juggling. We're juggling now.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Mike?
Is that a chip seal that you're talking about, doing 35 feet wide up there? Chip seal or hot asphalt? Is the state of Texas okay with 35 feet wide the state of Mexico, are they okay with 35 feet wide for their grant?
Yeah, I've talked to Tony Gilbert at DOT, the Indian DOT office.
Okay, great. We can get some airplane traffic going in and out of there. I think that'll be fantastic. And I think 35 feet wide would be more than sufficient for piston airplanes, but it won't be adequate for charter. And I don't know if you get friction in turboprops.
I don't have access to that
I'm
computer.
talking to him about it right now.
Have you discussed that issue of 35 feet versus?
Yes, I have. And they would go for it. That's a native air and air method.
Okay.
And I have discussed that with them.
And they're okay with it?
They're good with 35.
Fantastic.
And then they would, with that, they'd bring in fixed wing aircraft for emergency calls.
I think that's fantastic.
Let me expand a little bit on this width issue because it's become a thorn in the side of the board. We're having some clashes there. To be honest with you, I don't want big turboprops in that airport, and I wish I could show you if we had a browser on this, I could show you why I don't want them in there. Right now, the way the aeronautical features are around Timberon, getting large, even medium-sized turboprops in there is a problem. A pilot has to be on his game to land at Timberon. A turboprop pilot had better be, best of the best to get in and out of Timberon safely. I'm talking top 1% of turboprop pilots. Jockeys like me, I fly a little airplane with paper wings, single engine, wheel on the back. I can get in and out of there if it was 20 feet wide and 1,000 feet long. But we designed this for 12,500 pounds, which is the size of a small King Air. A King Air is a twin turboprop. The gear width on a King Air is about 15.5 to 16 feet. 35 feet wide, 16 feet, that's 8 feet from the center line. We have a 35-foot runway, 17.5 feet. The guy's got 11 feet of wander before he goes off the actual paved surface and onto the chip seal verge, and then he's got another 8 feet, 7.5 feet of wander on the chip seal if he drops a tire off of that. So if we got a turboprop pilot that can't keep it on the center line within about 17 feet, I don't want him in there. I want him to go to Alamogordo or bring a helicopter or do something else, okay? So my safety limit is a small twin Piper Comanche, Beach Duchess, Beach Baron. That's kind of my safety limit. Yeah, you can get a turboprop in there. It's not a good plan. Eventually, what we're going to have is we're going to have somebody fly a Pilatus in there or a turboprop in there, and they're going to get slow, and they're going to get low on the ground, and they're going to stall and spin it into the ground. I mean, that, I'm telling you, that can happen. Any other questions on paving?
Mr. Kaufman back here.
Yeah, you know, I'm a pilot also.
Speak up, please.
I'm a pilot also, and so I can understand trying to get on the center line on a windy day, you know, so on and so forth. The question I have is, you guys haven't addressed, is the length of the runway, and how that affects your planned traffic. And you're talking about shortening the amount of paved runway, and then using the chip seal as overrun, or talk to me about how this affects turboprops landing at
Okay.
Timberon.
Let's go ahead and take a look at this picture. So the majority of our landing traffic is going to be on 3-1. That's the upper left one. Left traffic turns into runway 3-1. It's uphill from 3-1 to 1-3. On the overrun of 3-1, we've just had about 400 trees cut down over there on Electrum Boulevard or Electrum Road. So that's made our approach paths to 3-1 actually quite a bit better. If we do shorten the paved area, we have options to either have a displaced threshold, which means we can push the landing zone further to the northwest or further away from numbers 3-1, or we can center that paved piece and have overruns on both ends, or we can have a regular threshold at runway 3-1 and have a displaced threshold on runway 1-3. So there's a lot of engineering that goes on here. Either way we do it, we're going to have a transition on the verge, which I talked about in that kerf cut. We would have to taper kerf cut into our substrate so that we can put an aggregate down there and then make that 50-to-1 taper so that planes don't bounce off. What I would like to do because of takeoff traffic is I'd like to have the pavement start at the white line on 1-3 and go approximately 3/4 down that runway, and then emulsion coat the balance down to 3-1. So we would put an emulsion surface and compact that, and planes would be able to use the full length of it, but only maybe 4,000 feet would be actual hot mix asphalt from 1-3 going 3/4 the way down the runway. And again, we're getting into some pretty deep engineering stuff here. I don't want to.
And yeah, in a lot of detail.
Yeah.
No disrespect, but do you know about how much longer this presentation is going to be?
I can talk forever. I love the sound of my voice.
But
Yeah.
why I say that is maybe we should possibly include something like this in a special meeting because there's a lot of people here that are on the agenda and
If you let me go through the fence, I think it's 3
Oh.
slides, 4 slides.
okay, let's
Sorry.
tighten it up and move on.
All right, let's
then.
tighten it up. So, Project B, next slide, will be the fencing and apron fencing. Next slide. Project B, existing apron is not secure, allows vehicles 80 feet. You can read all that. What we want to do is we want to enclose that whole area there, including some private property from Bob White right around over to Lot 1. Next slide, please. Okay, the important things to look at here are the yellow gates. We have yellow gates at the top. That's a private property gate. And then we curve right around to the EMS fire gate. That's for Tony McWilliams and his team. They're going to have their firehouse directly across the street there where that basketball court is. So they get a straight shot right onto the runway. Down further to the lower part, we have a pedestrian gate there, 3 or 4 foot wide. The area outlined in orange is non-aircraft movement area. So that's for pedestrians. We would probably put up a small barrier. Outlined in orange at the top is also a non-aircraft movement area. That's private property. We don't want airplanes over there. In the middle is aircraft movement areas. That's where aircraft get to taxi around, load people, unload people in the blue boxes. And then sometime in the future, I just put a covered T-hanger up there so that we can have some cover for people who come and visit us. The fencing project, again, is probably $25,000, $20,000 to $25,000, maybe a little bit more. I don't have any bids on that yet.
I know that time's a constraint, but I've got, I own property, can I address this for a moment? I'm a pilot, instrument rated pilot, been flying since 1985. I currently own 2 airplanes. I'm very active, so I know a little bit about this, but also own property around this airstrip. This, I guess this orange line represents my property line or pretty close to it, is that correct? Is that right on my property line, or is that moved into my property, or do you think that's pretty accurate?
Yeah, I think that's right up. That's from that stake right out there by the pavement.
Okay, and
Right
this
there.
is your proposed,
Starts right there.
this is your proposed fence, the green
Yeah,
line?
from the bridge,
Okay.
culvert, yard right there.
Well, I don't want you fencing off my property right here, because I wanna have a fence cut across this way so we can get in and out of there, and I want people to be able to pull off the road if they're pulling a trailer or something and not block the roadway.
Okay, maybe this is, real quick, maybe this is something that we need to discuss
Yeah, we need to
elsewhere,
talk
but
about it.
we can't cut across your property with the state finance fence. They will pay
Right,
for it.
I'll
because-
pay for the fence. Yeah, I'll pay for any fencing on my property. But
Okay,
I just wanted to throw that out there in case you have meetings that I'm not invited to or don't know about, that I'm 100% in favor of fencing that off. People don't need to be getting on the runway. It's dangerous. So, and you all know I've been a proponent of that for a long time, but I just want it to where people can pull off the roadway and not block the roadway and get in and out.
Yes, sir. Anything to add?
We have one last slide.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Are
Yeah,
you good
absolutely, Mike.
with this?
Not yet.
Well, yeah, okay. That'll come later, all right.
Okay, that basically covers the apron area. Next slide. And this is just what I just spoke about. This is just a review of what I just spoke about, and the commissioners have that. So at this point, I'd like from the commissioners to, next slide, approve going forward with phase 2, projects A and B, and submitting bids to the state, and go from there.
Commissioners, if I remind you, this is a presentation. You can't vote on anything
Can't
tonight.
vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we need, in order to move forward, in order for them to move forward with the funding, though, do they need like an MOU or something between them?
No, what they have to do is, we have to put an agenda item on with the application for the grant. It has been passed by the board prior. Any application for grants have to get board approval. You have to see the application, know if there's a match, and know if we have to be fiscal agent. So that would have to come back at the next meeting.
Okay. Yeah, we can get it on the next meeting if if all parties are in agreement and in support of.
We're on a time crunch on that.
No, I'm not pushing against as far as, the time with
Yeah,
y'all.
as far as the applications for the grant.
Oh,
That's gonna put us right up, we just have it May 31st.
You have to have it May 31st?
With.
Well, we have a special meeting on the 13th, don't we?
That's a budget meeting.
Can we,
Is it not enough to have it on the May meeting, the second Thursday? You said it's,
oh, it's on the end of May, you say?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I would like to do is, I need to get, this pipe really can't stop anywhere. It's like an oil pipeline, so I'm gonna start working with the state, right, and get everything hypothetically set up, right? So then I'll bring it back to the county commissioners when we have that.
Okay.
But it's kind of, I'm kind of stuck between two masters. The state wants to have an approval from Otero County before they'll talk to me about submitting the bids for a proposal. And Otero County is telling me that I need to get something from this is what I was concerned about. So let me see that we can get both of those speaking together.
Okay. Yeah, and if it boils down to time, then we can make sure that yeah.
Just, I don't want to get between the state and the county when it comes to you come to me, I come to you, just one-upmanship type stuff causes real trouble. That's all I have. Any other questions from the field?
I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you guys.
Maybe we'll see you next month.
All right.
Item 13, Otero County Fair Association would like to discuss and clarify the compensation parameters in regards to the community service funding.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Heidel, and I'm here with Dean, and I guess Sheila and Beth. I'm the administrative assistant. I do the office, take care of all the paperwork, and we do receive community services funding every year, and we're very, very grateful for that. Please don't take this that we're not. There's a lot of things we could not do without those funds. We were recently asked to change the way that we do our reporting. We pay our lease with volunteer hours in lieu of cash. We're also very grateful to be able to do that. But we have been asked to deduct a purchase that we got with that money from our service hours as compensation. We've had a couple of phone calls and emails, and I don't think we're asking the question right. We don't understand how it's being considered compensation because these items are purchased by the county purchasing, and they're also inventoried as county property, so they don't belong to us, and we're being asked to write those dollars off. So we're just confused as how they're considered compensation to us.
So, Cameron, do you want to explain?
I would have to refer to Michael Eshelman, who's been working with the State Board of Finance Director on exactly what is involved in that.
Well, the situation she's just presented to me is different than the way I've been looking at it. It's my understanding this was just a reference to the grant payments that we give them, and State Board of Finance has said that needs to be deducted from the community service hours.
Which we totally understand, but we just don't understand how.
But this is new to me. I'm hearing this for the first time about merchandise and being county inventory. So I don't have an answer for that today because this is new. I'm hearing this for the first time.
Well, I believe that you actually replied to an email that Gerald had sent. Dean had sent Gerald an email, and it was handed over to you, and it did actually kind of explain what we were asking. But
well, I apologize. I misunderstood that. Julianne Hall, our finance director, is here. Do you know anything about this, about purchasing materials and being on the county books?
We have agreements with multiple different organizations, as you know, that we fund annually. And when I got here, I didn't understand why the fairgrounds was allowed to use our purchasing department. I think that the way that we do the agreements with them is something that needs to be looked at and potentially revised, because essentially what we're doing is we're granting them these funds, but then they're turning around and using our purchasing department to purchase equipment that could potentially be considered a capital asset. And that equipment, because our purchasing department is the one that actually went through the process to obtain those goods, our purchasing department is then putting those items on our capital asset listing. But technically, it was purchased with funds that were granted to another organization, so it really shouldn't be considered county property. So that's something that is the whole process needs to be looked at and revised, I believe. And I don't want to put our auditor on the spot on this, but it's something that I will discuss with her as well as to how this should be handled. So.
And we agree with changing the reporting to deduct that from our service hours quarterly. I mean, we agree with complying to that, no problem. It's just we don't understand why it's all of a sudden, and we don't understand why it's considered compensation, and we don't have any guidelines. So, I could say, yep, we're doing it this way, board, but the board might say, okay, well, why? Well, I have nothing to say this is what we do, this is what our process is, because it's not anywhere in our lease, it's not in the community services funding. agreement that's made every year, so we'd just like to figure out where we can get, you know, an explanation.
If I could speak to that, I mean, because of the fact that it was not in your agreement, I mean, I can't speak to the legality of the contracts, but this is something that we just became aware of as well, that any organization that is managing property that is owned by the county, and they provide their payment of their rent by using their volunteer hours instead of in lieu of cash, this is something that is going to have to go into future agreements with them, where we are going to have to, they will have to deduct the amount of hours that they're claiming by the amount of funding that we give to them, okay? So that's going to reduce the amount. They're going to have to come up with potentially other ways to pay their rent if they become short because of the funding we're giving them. That being said, maybe for this next year's funding, if we can revise these agreements and also make it so that it's consistent across all agencies. I don't think any of these agencies should be allowed to use our purchasing department for this process. It should be a consistent process on how we disperse these funds. So my suggestion is, at this point, we're 3 months out from the end of this fiscal year. I don't know how much we can do at this point because the contract doesn't specifically state they need to utilize this new information that we got from the State Board of Finance, which we didn't know about ourselves until recently with the high rolls contract. So.
It doesn't state it in the contract, but Exhibit B as part of the State Board of Finance contract does list it in there, and it is part of the requirement in the reporting. So I would have to refer to legal, but it is a part of the contract.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I totally understand that, and it makes perfect sense why it's on there. But the question is itself, how is this compensation to the Fair Association when it's technically not our property that's being purchased? We don't own it.
Well, and then when we go to fill out the documentation for the money, it says in there you will use the county purchasing agent. They will purchase the items. It's in that part of it when we apply for that funding.
And we only apply for funding, we don't get funding to help us with everyday costs like our employee or, for any of that kind of overhead. It's always for equipment or for upgrades to the facility. It's not to, help us with the cost of running the facility. And so that's, I think, why it's so confusing to us is it's always the first year that we got funding, it was for the kitchen, and it was all in the Wade building. And so it was all equipment for the kitchen, which goes on the county inventory. And so we're like, well, they own it, so why do we have to give our volunteer hours for it? It's confusing us.
What, didn't you contact the state finance director?
I called that office after looking on the website because I like I said, I feel like I did not ask the question right, and so I've been trying to find the answer. I looked on the website, couldn't find anything that related to what compensation was considered in this situation. And a lady answered the phone and she said, well, I don't know. I'll have a director call you. So that was the extent of the conversation. There was no answers given, and they didn't call me back, and I didn't, pursue it any further. So
Michael, can you research what she is talking about now?
I can do that. I can contact Ashley Leach. She's the director of the State Board of Finance, and explain the scenario, and perhaps ask her to call and try to explain.
What we'd really like to have is some kind of documentation that spells it out so that we have a trail and guidance to move forward. Maybe I don't work there in a few years and there's a process that needs to be followed. It's important to have that documented, and I'm sure you guys appreciate that in your own operations.
That's what I was going to ask you, Michael. You get something printed out from them, step by step, what they need to do or what we have to do.
I'll contact Ashley Leach and see if she can get us something. And if not, then put something together that we can put our stamp on through the county, and just for a guideline that they have. Absolutely, it needs to be written.
Well, and as mentioned by Julianne, and I know she's talked to Michael about it, all these agreements for social programs need to be rewritten. They haven't been revised in many years maybe when I first started. So it's just a few more months till we get to that point when we start updating those agreements, and they take effect July 1st. So we're not that far away from updating them. We can include that verbiage to make it more useful for those obtaining
Sure.
funds from us.
Because this is a state statute law, that's a procedure that has to be carried through the state.
It's State Board of Finance
We can't
rules.
just dream up our own deal and.
Right.
Right, like I said, we totally appreciate you guys talking to us. We understand how it works, and we have no problem deducting those items per that Exhibit B form that I fill out quarterly. It's just, in our particular situation, how is that our compensation? That's our big question. And then
At the end of the day, who's double dipping?
Right, yeah, exactly. And then should we, without having anything in writing, should we go ahead and deduct that and start to comply now? Or, I mean, it doesn't feel right to me, but we don't want to put ourselves in any situation with you guys that would make you unhappy. We really do appreciate everything you guys do for the fairgrounds.
Let me check with Smith Leach. This is not coming from us. This is coming from up above.
Okay.
So we're not the ones that, decided to raise this issue.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, let's just figure out what they're coming, and then we'll get with you again.
Okay.
And do whatever we need to do.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
guys
you
very
for your
much.
time.
Thank you.
All right, that's gonna bring us to item 14, unscheduled citizen communication. This is a limited 3 minutes, so make sure when you sit down, you're ready to go. There will be no decisions made on this. The discussion, you're coming in and telling us if there's something that needs to be discussed later and further, you'll need to put it on the agenda item, submit it. Okay? Gary Benjamin, is that name sound?
Yes.
Okay. Please state your name, just for the record to the mic, please. Okay.
My name is Greg Benjamin, and I am a healthcare professional and medical researcher. And I have some information for each of you which will support what I'm about to disclose to you. I have 3 packets of information for you. So this is in reference to the possibility of opening up Otero County. State government's decision to base restrictions and mandates on only one factor and one factor alone is a grave mistake on a positive test result. A case, it does not have to be a sick individual with symptoms, just a number. The test is therefore everything. Think about it. But what if the test is wrong? What if it has been misused in such a way that it has misled those at the top into believing, similar to a new religion, that all of these restrictions are justified because the test says so? Imagine a highly infectious disease that is so deadly and transmissible that one needs a test to tell you that you are sick. As a medical professional and researcher with a biological background in science and chemistry, and one who has worked with the PCR analyzer, I am here to tell you that this test has substantial and gross design errors. It is clearly unable to produce accurate results. Reliance upon it to justify locking up communities is a grave error on the part of our state government officials. The late inventor himself of the PCR test, biochemist Kerry Mullis, stated that his technology should not be used for clinical diagnosis. Citizens, have a right to know the truth about the high rates of false positives and how the initial test protocol developed by 2 virologists in January of 2020, for which the PCR tests for the entire world are based upon, is flawed so severely that it should have never been the absolute basis for COVID-19 diagnosis. Instead of doctors making a clinical diagnosis based upon symptoms, they have been told to place more reliance upon the test results than anything else. The test is incapable of distinguishing between a full-length virus, an RNA molecule, or a dead and old viral fragment from a previously resolved bacteria and or viral infection. I will quote from the RT-PCR test product information sheet itself using the CDC's own words. Positive results are indicative of active infection with COVID-19, but do not rule out bacterial infection or co-infection with other viruses. The agent detected may not be the definite cause of disease. In other words, a positive COVID test could mean nothing because another respiratory virus like the flu, for example, could easily be mislabeled as COVID-19. Here's another quote from the test manufacturer of Abbott C19 rapid test under its product limitations. This is very important for people to know.
Okay, so your 3 minutes are already up.
In summary, I just would like to say that please consider this information. It is scientifically based. It is random controlled trials. It is peer reviewed. There is lots of information. I just want everybody to have an understanding that there is other information out there when you're making these important decisions. And if I may give you these packets of information.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning,
Good
Amy.
morning.
My name is Amy Varela. Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wrote this last week in preparation for this resolution that Coy is presenting. I would like to read a quote by an American clergyman named Philip Brooks. He is best known as the person that wrote the lyrics of the Christmas hymn, O Little Town of Bethlehem. In a sermon he called, Going Up to Jerusalem, he stated, do not pray for easy lives, pray to be stronger men. Do not pray for tasks to be equal to your powers, pray for powers equal to your tasks. Republic runs on reason. You have to be elected to represent us. I am willing to stand with you, beside you, behind you, and fight for our county. I am willing to fight with you to protect our Constitution and uphold its principles. I know each of you believe we have been wronged by our governor. This is not what you or I stand for. I beg you today to vote to open our county 100%. Let's support our businesses by standing in front of their doors and protecting them. Let people choose to open, stay home, or have liberty and prosperity. We the people, are the bottom up as our founding fathers designed. It is our time to make a change and take a stand and allow Otero County to take the lead in the movement to save our state and our country. It is scary, I know. Our founding fathers put their lives on the line in developing this document that we are fighting to protect as well. Now, in saying that, I want to remind you that I wrote this last week. And then we had the news media. And I feel that the news media has put a target on our businesses' backs and opened the doors for businesses to believe in the false safety that the county may be able to have. So I have taken the resolution and made it as some suggested changes to it, to reword it so that it does not allow for false securities. I think that the third to the last line should be stricken. That is no long term to reopen New Mexico as shown by the color-coded. Although we agree with all of this, the target on our back, we cannot allow this kind of language so that the governor can attack us. And this no scientific rational basis, we all know that she's just playing politics. I brought these books here too because this is all of the debates when our Constitution was being developed. and the intent of our founding fathers. I know that everybody knows that this is not the intent of our founding fathers, the way that our direction is going and our business is being closed down and all of that. But because of the situation now at hand, we can't just say, let's open up Otero County. But let's open Otero County today safely. Let's not make our businesses feel like they're protected. I do not want David, our county sheriff, I want line 4, the last, completely stricken, because I don't know of one circumstance where our sheriff has denied anybody standing beside them to keep their business open. I also think this may put them on the line to fight sheriffs versus the state police, and we don't want that either. We need to keep them working together. And we need to word, if I'm allowed to say any kind of amendments, that on line 2, that shall be open to normal capacity, have the option to open to normal capacity. And I thank you for your time, and I allow to give you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Matt?
Yeah, here.
Yes, how's everybody doing? I just want to say, I'm not going to even take up all the time. I am in support of open up Otero County. I'm pretty sure everybody knows that. But the overall issue going on around here is the overall philosophy of government. Because at the beginning of this country, the Constitution and the state constitution, it's designed to limit government. It's not designed to like give government all this power. It's supposed to keep government in check. Like when I talk about privatization, because it's the people who support the government. It's not the government who support the people, and that's where the concept is going astray. Like when you look into the east of the Mississippi, most of the land is not occupied by federal. It's mostly in private land, private hands. But then you go west of the Mississippi, most of the land is controlled by the federal government or the state government. And that goes into the concept, because the people who started before the Civil War, they tried to put as much property in the hands of private citizens, because they feared the government getting too powerful and too much control. Now people have this idea that they're trying to get as much property, the government is taking as much property away from private people. And that's really dangerous. So that's what it is. We got to rethink the overall concept of government. It's privatization and private property that keeps you free. If you're just renting and you don't have private businesses and you're expecting handouts from the government, you're not going to be free. You're just going to be a slave on the plantation. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you, Matt. Kenneth Payne? Kenneth Payne?
I'm Kenneth Payne. I just wanted to come in and see if I was maybe getting the rules for being in the fire department, if you're on probation or something, changed since we're so short of firefighters now. And maybe you guys could vote on that and could look at each case separately or something. I've been with the fire department 8.5 years now, and I got put on probation now, and I can't be with it no more. And I mean, we're so short people. The fires are scary, and especially the drought. So I thought maybe it should be time to get that revised a different way, something to get more, because we don't have that many people out there. I just want to bring that up and see what y'all think.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ken.
That's from the public hearing this morning.
That concludes all the public comment. All right, going down to new business. Is there any items that, I was asked to pull one item 21, is that correct, Michael?
Yes, the Flickinger. I spoke to Lori Black and Cindy Stong yesterday, and they asked for that to be pulled.
Any items want to pull?
Nope.
Commissioner Griffin?
I'd like to move item number 25 right after item number 18, make it item 19, I guess.
The only problem I have with that is, this is the last item. If somebody's outside or they're showing up a little later, if we rearrange it, the problem I see with that, is that a problem, Pamela, or?
Yeah, but if I may, I have a I have something that's coming up as well that I may not be, I want to be here for this. So if you move it up to 18, after 18, then I'll for sure be here for it.
Actually, I'd like to remove agenda item 18.
You'd like to remove it?
Yes, for discussion. I have heard rumors of.
You weren't going to remove it until I just called your attention to it, and now all of a sudden you're wanting to remove it? You had no intention of removing it before?
Would you like to look this up on my notes?
Oh, I thought you said that you didn't have any. Okay, so you want to remove item number 18.
Mm-hmm.
What, and may I ask why?
I have been told, and I have been hearing that it's going to be a subpoenas and courts and trials. I'm not going to talk about it. If I'm
it's not.
Subpoenaed on anything.
I'll tell you something, Gerald. I mentioned to our attorney the other day, in regards to this, who wrote the public statement and whose idea it was. I told our attorney the other day in his office that I asked him if the legalities of it and to willfully allow me the respect of who it was written about, the knowledge of who wrote it. And I told our attorney there's two ways that you can answer this. You can answer it willfully, or you can answer it under subpoena. And Michael told me, does that mean you're going to sue us? And I said, absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that in regards to the law, I do have the legal right to know who wrote this shared statement on the Otero County Commissioner platform. So it's your choice. You're making that decision now, because you can't run from this. You can't continue to keep pulling it from the agenda and hiding from it. You can either answer it in an open public meeting like it should have been introduced with to begin with, or you can answer it under a subpoena, but that's a decision that you're going to be making.
That's fine. If you get to item 25, all this will be discussed in item 25.
And I'm not trying to pull item 25, because I don't have to not have something on the agenda. I can discuss it. I don't see why you can't.
I'm just telling you what I was told and what I've heard. If this is going to go to a court of deal, I am not going to.
Did I say? I didn't say that.
Didn't
That's
say
what our attorney is telling you. It's not what I said. I just said there's two ways that a person can answer this. You can answer it willfully, or you can answer it under a subpoena. But believe me, it will and it can be answered, but that's your choice. But if you want to pull it, you can't just pull it on your own. You have to have Vicky's support in allowing you to pull it as well.
And that I'm just speaking for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you, when you get to item 25, it's all going to be discussed.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to move item number 25 moved up after 18.
That's all I have like to say on it? Commissioner Markworth?
Well, we spent over an hour on this at our last meeting.
Exactly, I know we did.
And so I would like to support Gerald in pulling that because we are gonna have discussion on it.
Pulling,
18.
I know we spent over an hour discussing item number 25, and I'm not trying to pull that.
Well, it just seems like so much of our time on these meetings has been going to this.
Yeah, I know, Vicki.
And I mean, we've got a lot of other
and
stuff
it's
we
a
need to be
shame
doing.
because it never should have happened to begin with.
It shouldn't, Coy.
But so you want to pull item, so you're going to answer then, and whenever we get to 25, who wrote the statement?
We're gonna discuss it.
And you're going to answer who wrote the statement whenever we get to item 25.
When we get to item 25, Commissioner Griffin, we will discuss it.
Are you going to answer who wrote the
I'm telling you,
statement?
Right now, we're talking about item 18.
I know, and we're talking about pulling it. I just want to know, are you going to answer who wrote the actual statement?
Yeah.
You are. You're going to answer who wrote the statement.
If you go to item 25, you're gonna get your answers.
Okay, perfect then. I'll look forward to it. But I'd also like it moved up to item number 18.
I hate moving it. I don't know that anybody else is coming for that item. Is there? Do you know of any?
I don't know. I mean, I will admit, once in my 14 years, we had a problem when we rearranged the agenda. We brought something later forward. It got voted on. A member of the public came forward, complained to the AG that they weren't present because they thought it would be later. They filed a complaint with the AG and found in their favor. But there is a statement, Commission always reserves the right to adjust the agenda as needed to better serve the public. We put that on after that happened in hopes that we wouldn't be found for doing that again, but it's up to the board how you want to rearrange.
Well, see, the reason why I want to move it is because I've been handed this letter. I've got another district court hearing on the recall petition that Paul Sanchez and all the recall committee scheduled on the very day today when I have a commission meeting. I'm supposed to be over there at 1:30 across the street or calling in. And I don't want to miss this agenda item at the end. I want to be here for this agenda item. That's why I'm requesting that it be moved forward. But as long as I'm here, I don't care. Keep it at the end. I just want to be here whenever this agenda item comes up.
Mr. Markworth, do you have anything, any problems with moving it right up to the very number 1 item?
No.
All right. Is that fine?
That's fine with me, absolutely. I just want to be here.
All right. A request has been made to move agenda item 25. We'll move it up in front of agenda item 15. Request approval to ratify the press statement issued on January 19th, 2021, calling on Commissioner Griffin to resign. It was submitted by me.
If you may, I'd like to ask for just a quick recess.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, this is a request approval to ratify the press statement issued on January 19th calling on Commissioner Griffin to resign. I'll read the letter. Alamogordo, New Mexico, January 19th, 2021. Gerald Matherly, Otero County District 1 Commissioner, and Vicki Markwart, Otero County District 3 Commissioner. Issued the following statement calling upon Coy Griffin to resign his office as Otero County District 2 Commissioner. Coy Griffin, from his first day at Otero County Commissioner, has devoted himself to promoting his Cowboys for Trump organization rather than being county commissioner who serves the citizens of Otero County who elected him. There have been an endless series of incidents with Commissioner Griffin that has led to an investigation by the Secretary of State, Attorney General, and the State Auditor. Lawsuits have been filed against the county. Because of Commissioner Griffin's actions. He has been banished from the Mescalero Apache Reservation. He has made racist statements. He has repeatedly insulted other public officials. He has refused to comply with the state campaign finance laws. His actions have consumed an enormous amount of time for the county staff who must deal with the drama he instigates at the expense of attending the public business. Commissioner Griffin has called repeatedly for violence, stating the only good Democrat is a dead Democrat, which led to threats to county staff. He told a reporter governor of Virginia and Michigan were traitors, they should be hanged. He was one of the rioters who stormed the United States Capitol to stop the counting of the electoral votes, an action for which he has been criminally charged in federal court, and he has called for violence at the inauguration tomorrow for President Biden. There is an effort to recall Commissioner Griffin from office. This process will take months to complete. The Attorney General's proposed lawsuit under NMSA 10-4-2 to remove Commissioner Griffin also will take time. The people of Otero County deserve an end to the circus now. We call upon Commissioner Griffin to resign his office immediately. If he does not, we will support the recall effort and the removal proceedings of the Attorney General. Now, I'm going to tell you my side of the story, how my feelings on this. We have gone through many days of drama, if you want to call it, through the staff, through Diana, through my emails, through my answering machine, my voicemails. I've received threats, not quite as drastic as Commissioner Griffin, but I've had demands to remove him, all kinds of stuff which people don't realize there is a process that I have no control over this. This is strictly by the top 2 seats up there in the state that can do this. So I'm tired of all the televisions in here, the drama going on everywhere. This is supposed to be, in my eyes, supposed to take care of county business. This is not taking care of county business. This isn't costing nothing but money to the county residents, in my eyes. I don't believe that we should be using the county property, his county office, for his personal videos, his Cowboy for Trump stuff. That's not what it's intended for. His office is for here to do county business. we've been drug into, we have these meetings and it turns into Coy Griffin's personal life. It has nothing, in my eyes, has anything to do with county business, taking care of any of them. I'll tell you right up front, there was Commissioner Mark Ward. I had read a letter that she had presented. I got hold of Attorney Michael. I had statements to go with that. And Michael, he was the one who wrote this letter, because you can obviously tell that I didn't write it, because it's a little better grammar than the normal person. But that is how it went. One reason I'm very disappointed that it came to this, to where both our names were on the same piece of paper. That is what this ratification, item 25, is all about. Do you have any questions on that, Commissioner Griffin? Feel free.
I'd like to know who wrote the statement, who sat down and authored the statement?
I just told you.
Michael did?
What we had was...
Did Michael write the statement?
Are you going to let me talk?
Sure,
or
go
are you
ahead.
going to interrupt me? If we're going to interrupt me, we'll just we'll call
answer
this
it.
right now and be done with it. Or are you going to let me talk?
Are you not talking?
I'm trying to, but you keep interrupting. Really? Okay, I just got through telling you. It was a group deal. Commissioner Markwart had a letter that she had wrote. I had things I added to it, to what my feelings, my wording, and our attorney put it together in this form right here.
So Michael wrote the letter?
From our telling him to write it.
Okay.
What we gathered from him, from her, and from me.
So you shared your opinion,
I gave my
and then
opinion,
Michael put it
she had
together.
his opinion. She had her opinion.
I know, yeah, she had her opinion, you had your opinion, and Michael combined your opinion in a statement, correct?
Correct.
So it's a shared opinion. And then how did Michael, once Michael wrote the opinion, then did he send it back to you? And did he send it, or I'll ask you, Vicki, did he send the letter back to you for you to read it and then say, yeah, that looks good?
Yes.
Okay. So Michael combined your opinion and then he sent it back for approval.
Right.
And you approved it and Gerald approved it. And Michael if anybody should know the law, it should be the attorney. And that was a direct violation of the Open Meetings Act, because you had a shared opinion and then you had an approval of that outside of a publicly scheduled meeting. And the worst, most hurtful part is it's about me as I'm sitting in jail in Washington, D.C. This is on the 19th, you guys released this. I got arrested on the 17th. And so you approved it, and then you sent it back to the attorney, and then he sent it to every media outlet he could find to send it to slander me. That's what happened. And now Gerald, probably through Michael's counsel, is going to ratify it. Like, this is going to make it legal. Like, ratifying it's going to make it all go away. It would be like trespassing, and you can't even understand the sign that says no trespassing, and you go ahead and trespass anyways, and the property owner catches you trespassing, and then so you go back and you ask for permission to have trespassed. That's what this ratification is. I mean, just because you ratify something doesn't mean that it was illegal to have done in the first place. It's a direct violation of the Open Meetings Act. You're a new commissioner. You're just coming on board. You're learning this stuff. But the county attorney should have known. That's why I have a problem with county attorney. And whenever it's a shared opinion on a county letterhead, then, I mean, I wish Pamela would have been here. Pamela would have caught this, and she had earned a vacation, and she was on vacation. It just so happened to go through whenever she wasn't here at the county, or I'm sure Pamela would have caught it and not allowed it to happen. But this is why we need to consider on later on in our agenda. You know, I mean, what kind of council that we're getting to here. But the ratification of this, Gerald, I don't see. So now you're wanting to do something that should have already been done in an open meeting.
This is from instructions from the what's her name?
Grace Phillips?
Yes, from the New Mexico Counties Association. So what I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
This was done by email. This wasn't, there's no visiting, no talking.
Okay.
Which is illegal, correct?
It's communication.
Yeah. With Vicki and I, what you're saying, that we're open meeting that with us communicating here, that's a violation.
If you have a shared opinion outside of a publicly scheduled meeting between two commissioners, that's a quorum. That's violation of the Open Meetings Act.
So these 4 emails that you sent me, you're perfectly legal for
4
you to
emails that I sent you in regards to
just right here.
Oh, whenever that was sent through a spam deal that I was just responding to you on? Is that what you're talking about?
The day after the commission meeting, you sent, and I'm presuming you sent to Vicki too. Yeah, right here. And I I appreciate a speedy response. And here you addressed us, 2 of us, which is, now
that's the spam stuff that I had already gone. That's not from. Is that from me?
It's okay for you to do it, right? Is that what I'm getting?
No, sir. I didn't send that.
Bullshit. It got your deal right here.
Does it come from my address? Because I got one from you too that I had sent to Pamela.
Yeah, and it was not even my email address. And she explained that to you. All of them, right here.
I know, and I copied Michael. Every correspondence that I sent to you, I copied Michael and Pamela, maybe Sylvia, I'm not sure. But I copied them in it as well. It wasn't just communication between the 2 of us, Gerald. Unless that's
you weren't talking to them, you're talking to me.
Because I got spam. I got spam from you.
I don't care if it's spam, ham, or bologna. It's still.
But spam means that it didn't actually come from me. It was somebody else acting like it was me.
No. Because Pamela even had to instruct you to, it's not coming from me. You're trying to answer and talk to me that, look at my email address. It's not even the right email address. So what I'm saying is,
no, I know
what's good for you is not good for us. But it's okay for you. That's what I don't understand. You can't talk to me on 4 emails and then not.
Listen, Gerald. If that's the email, the thread that Pamela
This is a separate thread.
Huh?
This is a separate thread of emails.
The one that you told me it wasn't coming.
This is not those.
Then I was not. Look at the email address. What does the actual address say? Does it say coygriffin@hotmail.com?
No, it says Coy Griffin, Otero County.
C. Griffin at otero.co.us? C. Griffin?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. We can look at, yeah, I mean, I think that I know what you're talking about because I got something from you. And it was a spam, yeah, it was a spam deal. Pamela cleared it up because I had responded to it because it was like phishing. It was trying to get me to respond to you. It said, I can't talk on the phone right now, can you email me? Is that what the comment, anyways, we'll look at it. But for me to have responded to an email that I thought that you had sent to me, which it wasn't. I guess apparently it wasn't you, but I had copied.
Even your responses when it came to me, I never answered back. It came directly to me. I'm not, okay, I made the mistake once.
Yeah.
I ain't doing it again, and I would not answer your email again. And that's why I guess I have 4 of them.
The original email came from you to me that I thought it was, and I responded to you and I copied others in the thread saying we can't communicate like this. But I guess it must have been somebody else that was masking themselves behind your email address. That's what Pamela had told me after I had responded. She said there was some fraudulent emails or something that came out. That wasn't really Gerald that did it. So
email address is not
let's not get off on it. Okay, whatever.
the exact same
Okay,
thing.
then okay, Gerald, then you want to ratify this. You want to stand behind this. You want to move and pass on this statement and put your name on it.
You're gonna make a motion for approval.
Okay, so you're saying in this statement, because you wouldn't answer the other day, you're saying in this statement, since my first day in office, all I've done is promote Cowboys for Trump.
Was it the first meeting you did, you bounced up out of here, out the door, oh, I got another thing I have to go to?
No, the first meeting I went to was down on the border whenever the governor was saying there wasn't a crisis on our southern border. Do you remember that? On January the 19th? And then do you remember me out here meeting Jerry Nadler and Social Small and Veronica Escobar when they were tearing the Border Patrol apart? Do you remember? You weren't there. I was, though, as an Otero County Commissioner. I was on Fox News 3 times as an Otero County Commissioner speaking on the border. That wasn't Cowboys for Trump. So that part of the statement, as I said the other day, is a lie. And then has made racist statements. What racist statements have I made, Gerald, if you're going to put your name on this?
The Democrats.
That's racist?
You're calling that yeah, it wouldn't be no different than calling them a different name. And then the blacks, if you don't like it, go back to Africa.
That's racist? I said all blacks go back to Africa, or I said those blacks that want to kneel at our flag and play a black national anthem, maybe they should go back to Africa. And you're going to say that's a racist statement?
I'm not going to sit in here and argue.
No, I'm not wanting you to argue. I'm just wanting you to stand. I'm just wanting you to stand behind the statement that you're wanting to put your name on, and I'm asking you to stand behind it. So, what racist statements have I made?
In my eyes, the dead Democrat is a racist statement.
The dead Democrat is a racist statement.
Whether you think it is or not, that's my opinion.
Whenever I said that, I said I'm only speaking in the political sense. I'm not speaking in the physical. That was my follow-up to that statement.
You should have said that first.
Okay, so you say, okay, that's a racist statement. What other racist statement? It says right here, racist statements.
I don't.
You don't know, but you just want to send it through?
Yeah.
You can't give an account? You can't say what I said that was racist?
Boy, this time I don't even remember what I did yesterday. So I could probably go back through and listen to all your little videos and all your stuff, and then the deal with the governor, that's not a racist statement. That to me is a violent statement. Hanging them.
And that's not. Yeah, but on that statement right there, Gerald, I didn't say that they should be hanged. I said if they're guilty of treason, they should be hanged. That's what I said. But that's not what I said. That's what the Constitution of the United States says.
Yeah.
So that right there is a lie. I didn't say that they should be hanged. I said if they are guilty of treason, they should be hanged.
And then, if I remember right in that deal, you said, take my rope and should go up there, and, which is presuming I'm indicating that you're going to take your rope to hang him with.
Yeah. I don't know. Here's another statement. You said, and he has called for violence at the inauguration tomorrow of President Biden? How did I call for violence?
The next day, you made a video in your motel balcony saying that you're going back on the inauguration day. You're going to exercise our Second Amendment rights. It's going to get a little Western, and there could be blood running out the door.
I said we could have a Second Amendment rally on those same steps.
So,
Is that saying that that's calling for violence, having a Second Amendment rally?
it's called for violence when you're talking about having blood running out the door?
No, that was the day following Ashley Babbitt. An unarmed woman's blood ran out of the Capitol. That's the blood that I was talking about. The blood of those that will die for the sake of freedom. That's not calling for blood. So again, I ask you, how did I call for violence at the inauguration of President Biden?
And then you sat right there and you said, I'm going to take my guns back
Yeah.
with me. You even told them what kind and the whole
Yeah,
nine yards.
absolutely. Is that calling for violence?
It's calling that you're going to be armed and prepared.
Is that calling for violence? No, that's saying I'm going to embrace my Second Amendment right because I have been getting so many threats against me. And I said that in the meeting.
Yeah. I got a stack of papers in my office, probably this thick of emails, letters.
Oh boy,
And
I'm
sure there's
sorry.
probably nothing compared to what you have, but what I'm saying is, my whole deal is, Coy, and I don't really feel, and I don't know what you do, you don't know what I do, but I don't feel that you're doing anything for the county.
No.
That's my personal opinion.
Okay.
And it ain't worth no more than that piece of paper is.
Okay, so let me ask you again. What racist statements have I made?
Okay, I'm done talking.
No, I'm asking you. You're going to put your name on this statement right here that says I have made racist statements. So again, I want to. What about you, Vicki?
Well, really, I've already answered all this, and I'm not answering anymore.
Are
But
you
I
going
will
to
ask.
vote on it to
Yeah,
pass this?
I am, because
Even though
still.
you can't give me an example of racist
I'll ask
statements.
you something, since you grill us. I'll ask you something.
Okay.
Do you take responsibility for any of this?
For any of what?
For all of this, Coy?
Ask me one thing on here that I
The
did.
extra security at the admin building, the hateful phone calls that they have to deal with, the emails and phone calls that Gerald and I have to deal with on your behalf. I mean, I'm working my ass off trying to improve the county.
And I haven't. You've been in office for 3 months?
I know. How many hours?
3 years I've been in
How
here.
many hours do you think you spend on county business
Okay.
a week?
Okay.
I mean, I challenge you with that.
But you just asked me to take responsibility for, do you want me to take responsibility for hateful emails that come in?
Yes, because you're generating it.
Because I'm
You
the
have
one
got
that's
to learn
generating
You
it?
have got to learn to fight smarter.
Fight
You
smarter.
generate all this hate and all this stuff that brings
How?
down on this county, and then we all have to deal with it. I feel like as a commissioner, it's my responsibility to help these people.
But
My
the-
God, the stuff that they have to put up with on your behalf, Coy, is
On my
unbelievable.
behalf.
Yes,
my
on your behalf.
Mhm.
Have you guys ever had to defend me? Have you gotten hateful phone calls about me or Gerald and wanting to shoot somebody? I mean, take some responsibility. It just seems like you're getting worse.
What have I done, do you feel like, that has called that on?
The things that you say and the things that you do, Coy. And I mean, I can't even believe you're asking me that. This has been going on for a long time now.
Okay.
It needs to end. And I was praying that we could get to the end of this and move
I wish
on.
we could too.
And then
we
what
might.
do? You go out and you talk in front of the TV about the opening the county, which just puts a target on all of our backs. And instead of
How?
helping our businesses, now they're just focused in on us. I couldn't believe you did that. It's just that type of behavior.
But you can't believe that I did that. Because I did what? Because I said that we have a resolution to open the county up?
Yes,
You
because
can't
you have to
believe
go.
I said that we have,
But
we're
you have to
drafted.
go to the media. You have to draw attention to us.
You know what? I would rather do things out in the open than do things behind a closed door or in
Well,
secret.
then maybe you should think about the things you do out in the open.
But I know, but if you're gonna actually make a stand, do you make a stand in a back closet somewhere, or do you make a stand right out in the open?
I'm gonna make a stand that helps my county the most.
And that would be out in the open. That's called leadership. That's called taking a stand. But this statement right here, you know, you talk about the hurtful things, the hurtful emails and stuff that you get. You don't think that this doesn't create so much hate towards me? It's one thing whenever the media does it to you. It's almost expected nowadays for the media to do this to you. But whenever it's your county, your fellow county commissioners coming from the county platform, speaking from the county, saying he has made racist statements.
What do you think you've done?
Whenever you
say
can't
coming
even
from
give
the
me
county. What do you think coming from the county that you're doing to all of us?
What do you think coming from the county are doing to all of you? So that justifies it?
I think it justifies us thinking that it would be good if you would step down, get your personal life in order, and find some peace.
That's exactly what all the left wants. That's what the governor wants me to do, believe me. That's what Hector Balderas wants me to do, believe me, is to step down. But you say he has made racist statements, Vicki.
I'm not going to keep going over this.
But you can't even give me one statement.
We keep saying it. It's the whole thing about going back to Africa and all that. I have to
If you
explain
want to
that
play
to my
a black
friends.
national anthem, then you can go back to Africa, and that's supposed to be a racist statement? What if people wanted to play a white national anthem? Would you say that was okay?
No.
Okay, so you say people that want to play a black national anthem, is that okay?
No.
Okay, so what should you tell those people?
I would tell them that we're all Americans and we need to play the same national
Yeah.
anthem, but I wouldn't tell them to go back to Africa.
Well, I guess maybe we operate differently. I would say if you want to do something as racist as that, if you want to play a white national anthem, go back to wherever you're from in white Europe. That's the way I handle it. But you make very slanderous statements through this, Vicki, and you don't even understand. I drive through town and people glare at me, throw me the finger. I'm on the verge of being assaulted all the time. You know? And a lot of it comes from this sort of stuff. And not to mention it's totally illegal. Totally illegal. You know, and by ratifying it now and voting on it, really you should have pulled it. You should have pulled it off the agenda. But now I guess y'all can go ahead and further stand on it, even after I have gone through it line by line with you the last meeting, and you couldn't stand behind one statement that was made on here. Not one. And now you're going to vote on it the next meeting after and approve something that you can't. Gerald can't give me one example on here of any of this stuff that's true, but yet he wants to vote on it now to further solidify it. Unbelievable. If it was true, I would say, okay, I'll accept it. I said I was a racist. I'm a racist. You know, I called for violence. Yeah, I did all of this. But I didn't do any of it. And I told you I didn't do any of it.
You did not say only good Democrat is a dead Democrat?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
And I said, and I am only speaking politically. No way do I mean this in the physical sense. I said it as soon as I said that. And you know what else I said? I said, I can already see how those on the left are going to make me look like I want to go out and murder all the Democrats. Exactly what you're doing right now, Gerald.
Exactly what I'm doing?
Is it not?
You have to, Corey, in your position, you've got to word your wording.
According to you.
According to me?
Your opinion. That's your opinion.
Yeah.
Just like your opinion earlier when you were saying, I believe this, I believe that you can't use your offices for videos. Well, you can believe all you want, but what matters is the law. Show me in the law that you can't, and then I'll accept what you have to say. But just because you say, well, I believe, and in my opinion, that's all irrelevant, Gerald. It comes down to the letter of the law.
It is the law to use your county property, your county office for personal use.
Yeah, ask Michael. He's already told me there's nothing in the law. He told me that a long time ago that there was nothing in the law that would prohibit me from using my county office. I talked to Michael about that already.
So for you using for Cowboys for Trump, you're using county electricity, you're using the internet up there, you're probably using papers and pens and everything
Probably.
else. Okay, well, what I'm asking you, when I was at New Mexico Edge classes, and I'll have to go find it because I have it highlighted. It does say that. That is a law.
And everything that I've done, whether it be Cowboys for Trump or whatever, has only been to bring representation back to the people here. I fought for the border. I fought for our Second Amendment. I fought for our law enforcement. I fought to protect life. All those conservative issues. I have 100% given myself. The President of the United States has never acknowledged Cowboys for Trump, not one time. He's never mouthed the words Cowboys for Trump. But he has Otero County Commissioner. That's the only way he's ever addressed me, as well as all of his staff. I've sat down with the heads of the Department of Ag representing Otero County, and I didn't even get my travel paid for by Otero County. And you're trying to say that I'm using Otero County to promote myself? Come on.
You tried to get your travel. How can you justify hauling your horse going to wherever you were going and then trying to charge the county people for, you were doing Cowboys for Trump on that.
My goodness.
Were you not?
You know, yeah, you want to talk about that one. That's great. Because whenever I went to that county affiliate meeting, I didn't know I was going to get to go until right up to the day of. I knew the flight ticket was going to be over $1,000 to fly. Lori was going to the same meeting, so I went to Pamela and I asked Pamela, is it okay if I just drive? She goes, yes. I said, all right, well, my fuel's going to probably be about the same. I can take my horse trailer with me. I'll stay in my horse trailer. And so I drove, and I went to it, and I came back, and I was going to turn my fuel receipts in, and I was instructed to not turn the fuel receipts in, just fill out the travel, voucher deal for per diem and mileage. Okay. It wasn't, I was going off of the county's guidance. And unfortunately, we broke our policy because we missed it. And whenever I had gone after that, I went to Michael for 2 weeks after that, asking him, are you sure we're okay? Michael, are you sure we're not breaking our travel policy? No, Coy, you're good, you're good. No, we haven't broken it. Well, I took my trailer, I took my horse. It's okay, it doesn't matter if you rode a motorcycle or you drove a semi. It's mileage and per diem. It doesn't matter what you drove or it's just your mileage and per diem. And then I got a screenshot of the travel policy about 2 weeks later. Showed we were in direct violation of it. Your mileage cannot exceed that, or that of what a coach class fare costs. So I called Michael and Pamela, and we had an op meeting in Pamela's office. And I told Michael, what is this? Michael, we're in direct violation. I brought it to Michael's attention. He didn't bring it to mine. I brought it to his. I said, we broke our travel policy. Write a statement. Michael didn't want to write a statement. He said, no, I don't. He looked at his feet. I said, what's wrong? You don't want to write a statement, Michael? No. I just feel like by doing that, we're just gonna give them more ammo to use against us. And I told Michael, no, baloney. In my world, when you make a mistake, you own the mistake. Write the statement. Forced him to write the statement, he sent it to Gerald, and Gerald didn't want to send the statement out. That's how all that went down. You remember that, Gerald? And then the media made it look like I was trying to soak the county on a travel voucher, which they're still trying to use against me in this recall petition thing that I'm having to deal with now. And I was completely, I was just following the guidance that I was getting from the county. I didn't know. I figured the county attorney would know our travel policy. That's why I asked him for 2 weeks. So if you want to use that against me.
Say again?
Is that how it went?
I have no recollection of the conversations that he's talking about.
No?
No.
Okay.
You did not come to me for advice. You did not come to me for advice.
You don't no, not before. I'm not talking about before I went. I'm talking after I got back.
You did
and
not,
I came
you
into
did,
your office and I asked you, are you sure that we're not breaking our travel policy?
We did not have such a conversation.
Well, I beg to differ with you.
In fact, in the meeting in Pamela's office, you threatened both of our jobs if we didn't help you in whatever this was.
I threatened both of
Yes,
your
you
jobs.
did. You said when the bus starts rolling, we would be on there and you would be sitting in the back seat.
When the bus starts rolling, you're going to be in the back seat?
That's what you said. You said
you know, I saw that in that report that you wrote, and I promise you, that's not something that I say. When the bus starts rolling, you're going to be in the back seat.
That is what you said.
I don't remember. If I said that, I must have been in another zone, because I don't remember saying that.
And you wanted a statement issued, circulated to the commissioners, and you're faulting them for circulating a statement, but you yourself did that.
Yeah, I did. I did. Because I was being made to look like I was trying to manipulate this travel voucher. You know? And I wasn't. I wasn't trying to manipulate a travel voucher. You know that. Pamela knows that. And I did ask you if we had broken our travel policy, Michael. You know that. I had asked you. Are you sure we didn't break any policy, Michael? And you said no. You're fine. So if you say that you didn't, you did, because I remember it. That's why I was so mad. That's why I was aggravated whenever Donna Brannon sent me that screenshot that we had broken our policy, because I had been asking you if we had broken it, and you were giving me confidence, no. Everything's perfectly fine.
We had no such conversations.
Okay, well, beg to differ. But anyways, Gerald, going back to this statement right here, you know, if y'all want to ratify this and put your name on something that I didn't do, you know?
You didn't do anything.
I didn't do
You didn't
these.
do anything.
What did I do in there?
Why are you in so much trouble if you didn't do anything?
What trouble am I in?
You're going over to court at whatever time you said you gotta go
Yeah,
or something.
but that doesn't mean I'm in trouble. That means that a group of people that don't like me are trying to recall me. That's not a conviction.
And you're innocent until proven guilty. That is.
Yeah, amen.
100%. But you did say the only good Democrat, and don't tell me you didn't. Okay?
I did.
And these things that are in here, did you not say that these judges or mayors or whoever they are, governors should be hanged?
Yeah, if they're guilty of treason, they should be hung. I didn't say they should be hung. I said, if they are guilty of treason, which a lot of the things that they've done, in my opinion, look like they are treasonous. That's why I said it to begin with.
And are you not?
But I didn't say
you-
they should be hung. There's a difference.
Are you not banished from the reservation?
I am. That's what the tribal council did, but
So you're not guilty of that?
But the reason why is because I went up there trying to give one of the tribal members a voice. And I asked questions about the COVID money, where the money's going whenever the tribal chief, Gabe Aguilar, is driving around a $90,000 Ford Expedition while tribal members are living destitute underneath the juniper trees out there on the res. But I'm just letting you know that's why I got banished. But he says it was because I made fun of the blessing ceremony. Because I responded to a joke that one of them was made while they were doing it to me, you know, so.
I don't know I'm just saying, these statements, if they're all lies,
yeah,
then you ought to be able to run up there and go to the casino and go play.
That what?
Go run to the casino and go play poker for a while.
I'm not saying, you don't have to be sarcastic. I just told you that I am banished from the reservation. So why do you even say that?
You have told me repeatedly everything in here is a lie. That's not a lie.
It's not a lie. I just said it's not. But the reason why I was banished, I was just trying to clarify the reason why I was banished. It's political.
So the dead Democrat.
What about the dead Democrat?
I guess that's political too.
What about the racist statement?
And
that's racist to say a dead Dem? That's what you said earlier?
The racist stuff is, in my eyes, is telling the blacks to go back to, in your situation as a public elected official, you cannot, and Corey, you said in this chamber right there, and if they're a Democrat, you cut them no slack, you are mean to them. If a Republican, they sit there and they'll talk for an hour. It's obvious you showed favoritism, whether it's a Democrat, in your position, Republican, Democrat, liberal, there's no such thing. You take care of everybody.
Sure.
And you don't. You are sarcastic to them. And now, I understand the guy wearing the shirt, they're coming in to taunt you. That's part of your job.
Okay.
And it's just been.
I've tried. I mean, I've told you that this statement is not true. It's not. It's got slanderous stuff in it. It's a slanderous statement. It's an illegal statement. It's a shared opinion on a county letterhead. It's an illegal statement. So y'all go ahead and do with it what you want to do with it. I'm done.
Yep.
But
and this right here is not illegal. What you did to me is no.
What I did to you.
With your email, I mean, it's the same thing.
Do you want to look at those emails and see who emailed who first?
Not me.
Yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Pamela?
Yeah.
These are not the same
emails. It's not even my
emails.
address.
These are not the same emails from that string. They're
Well, then
from-
let me see them. Let me see them. Let me see them, and I'll tell you if it's from me or not.
I've got mine pulled up right here on my
Okay.
computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
Yeah. Yeah, the first email that you sent on March 16th. Good morning.
Oh, I didn't send you
Listen
nothing.
to me. It says, good morning. Where are you? Are you available at this time? There is something I need you to do for me, and I can't talk on the phone at the moment. Please reply to the email. That was what you sent to
Look
me.
at the address on it. That ain't my address.
I know, but that's what I got from you, and I thought
You
that
didn't get
it.
from me.
I know, but I thought it was from you, Gerald.
You should have made
It
a
came
little
to
bit
my
more.
county email address, and it came from Gerald Matherly, from your name right here.
I'm sorry.
Okay, and then I
email address.
responded to you, and I said, I'm going to, well, this is all, I responded to you, and I said that we can't communicate like this, did I not?
You shouldn't even have responded, period.
I know, but I copied and I pasted it. I copied and I pasted, Michael, all of them, but what I thought that you had just written to me, so whatever, okay, if you want to try to incriminate me by, I wrote you in this, whatever, at least I didn't write a statement with a shared opinion, and it's slanderous and it's false to begin with. You want to try to, oh, you really got me on those, Gerald, real good. We'll see.
All right. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, Commissioners. Walt Kaufman in Weed, New Mexico. Let me start off by saying that Commissioner Matherly, I respect you great. I think you've done a great job on the commission. And Vicki, Commissioner Marquardt, you're a new girl, but seems like you've been doing a good job. And Coy, you've certainly been in the headlines, and a lot of the press has been positive for Otero County. So, you know, the three of you bring talent to the table. And I have to tell you, this has been a painful few minutes and a couple of meetings. And I have a solution that I want to start off with. And my solution for you guys is for y'all to make peace. And I would suggest you withdraw this joint statement because you've already heard all the reasons. And instead let the legal process take over. Paul Sanchez has started a process legally to remove Commissioner Griffin. And it's a really good process. It involves evidence. It involves a judge. It involves the District 2 voters who get to vote if it comes to that. And at the end of the day, that'll determine whether Commissioner Griffin is still on the commission. It's a wonderful system. It's been around for a long time. It has checks and balances, so on and so forth. And that process is very, very different than trial by press release. And I hope the commissioners can see the difference between the process I just described and then throwing stuff out to the press. I also want to say that Commissioner Griffin's speech is repugnant to me, much of it. I don't support a lot of what he says. And I think at best it's careless. It's without thought. It's just my opinion. And that careless, repugnant speech is the way that voters can judge him. They can decide whether they want to vote for him or not based on what they hear him say. I think that obviously I've written you guys, all the commissioners, about this, but I think there was a big mistake made by doing the press release and trying to try a commissioner in the press. That is a mistake, I think. It was done without a public notice, without public input, and frankly without confronting Commissioner Griffin. I don't know how you guys are raised, but that's not how I was raised. If I got something bad to say about you, I'll sit right here and say it to your face. And I think that's the way that this business in this county should be done. It should be open. If you got problems, you should bring it up, follow the law, try to resolve it. And you know, you guys know better than I. You have to work together, and the voters aren't going to put people in here that you necessarily like. Obviously, there's a lot of friction. So it's a tough job. And just a couple more comments and I'll shut up. I want to point out a conflict of interest for Commissioner Marquardt and Commissioner Matherly. Potential conflict of interest. This press release or joint statement was issued probably in violation of the Sunshine Law. So if you were to find an error in that press release, one error that was a mistake, and you were said, okay, well, we can't vote on that, we can't pass it because it has a mistake, then that opens you up to some liability issues, I think, because you've done this around the Sunshine Laws and you're trying to, fix that by passing it now. But if there's one mistake in there, now you have to decide, well, gee, do I want to just overlook that mistake and then I don't have the personal responsibility? So you have a personal interest in just going ahead and passing it, even though it may not be correct. Now, I'm not trying to slight you guys because I just got through saying I have respect for you, but it may even be unintentional, but it is a conflict of interest because you've got this problem. And that goes back to my solution that I said to you, how you fix this. And I think the way you could do it is by saying, okay, we're going to withdraw this and we're going to ask Commissioner Griffin over here to have a truce, and we're going to try to get together and work as a commission. And we're going to let the Sanchez deal work it out. If Commissioner Griffin is guilty of malfeasance or whatever, he'll be withdrawn. As you guys know, I sent notes on this statement, and obviously there's some really hard feelings in fixed places, and people have decided what their stand is. But I just like to look at it from a different standpoint. There are some statements in there that are concerned to me that have to do with a couple things. Due process is one issue that I think the statement that the commissioners made, there's a problem. Due process is one. Another one is the First Amendment. And then last and not necessarily least is how well Commissioner Griffin works, what his work ethics are. And so I wanted to go and talk about First Amendment because I just heard minutes ago an attack on the First Amendment, but I'm going to go through and do it the other way. On due process, Commissioner Matherly said it correct. A person is, in this country, as far as I know, innocent until there's a conviction in a court of law, often with a jury. Until that point, they're innocent of the charges. So when the commissioner, when the letter says there's an effort to recall Commissioner Griffin from office, that process will take months to complete. Well, I'm confused. If you want to follow the law, then yes, that's one of the downsides. In the Old West, somebody was caught doing something, they just take them and hang them, right? We don't need a trial. We know he's guilty. So that statement is kind of like that. We don't got time to do due process. And then to follow up on the next sentence, the New Mexico Attorney General's proposed lawsuit under New Mexico SA 10-4-2 to remove Commissioner Griffin, quote, also will take time. The people of Otero County deserve an end to this circus. I agree with that statement, but I disagree with the fact that we're trying to circumvent the law. Let that play out. If he's found guilty and removed, yay. Okay, if he's not, yay, that's the law. Trying to short circuit because you're in a hurry is a bad thing. And it does not support the Constitution of the United States. It does not support due process, despite what you say right now.
Well, us writing this is not going to get him removed from office. We cannot remove him from office. I've stated that before.
Yes.
All I'm saying is that I'm tired of, and a big deal right there, the Circus Act.
Then vote on it and pass it then, Gerald. Call it the question.
Because you guys are going to bicker again, if you'll excuse me, if you just let me speak for a bit. I understand that. A proper press release might have said something that to the effect that this is working out in court and we're going to support whatever way the court decides. That's a better way to say the same thing. So let me just plow through this, and then, because it's going to take a while. Let me give you another example of the due process issue. The statement was made in the press release. He has refused to comply with state campaign finance laws. That's a flat statement made in there. The rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say, is that, well, it's in court, it's in litigation. He's appealed it. So due process calls for that to be resolved in the court, and it's unfair and incorrect to make that statement. It implies that he's just refused to, he's just not going to do it, which would be illegal. But that's not what he's done. He's gone through, he's in the due process business. So,
well, he went through, they went through an arbitration.
Yes.
Arbitrator he picked.
Yes.
They made a ruling on it.
Yes.
And what was the ruling?
They found against Mr. Griffin, Commissioner Griffin. However, he then appealed it because he felt it was a political decision. And he has a right legally to do that. And it's just wrong for you guys to say, well, we don't like him, so here's some stuff. This is what it looks like to me. Here's some stuff that we don't like. In that particular case, when you make that statement, he has refused to comply with state campaign finance laws, it's partially true. But they'll flip that around. It's also partially false because he's in the process of correcting it. If you're going to make a press release and you're going to send it to everybody in the United States, which you did a good job, by the way, excellent job getting it out, and then there's errors in it, even subtle. You know what a lie by omission is? If you watch CNN, you'll see a lot of it. That's where they tell part of their story and they leave some out. That's not fair to anybody to do that. And so I'm pointing out in this case, it's a due process and sort of left some stuff out about it. And it's not fair. I think you could criticize Commissioner Griffin and not have to leave things out. The press release might be longer because you'd have to explain more stuff. But the fact is it looks like you threw a lot of stuff together. And let me just go on. The commissioners in this statement made some assumptions. You guys made some assumptions. And again, this is due process things. I'm going to go back, I'm sticking with due process. You assumed that he was guilty of some stuff. You wrote it out on the deal. And you used words like he stormed the Capitol, he was a rioter, and his motivation was to stop the counting. Those are assumptions. And I have to say that one of those things is true or proven true. No court has decided that. No jury has stepped up. I'm not aware of any rioting charges. The difference is that if he was convicted of those things, it would certainly be something that you could stand up and say, look, he did this stuff and it's bad, but he didn't. It's not, you don't know that. It's just what you read in the newspaper. And let me just segue now on to the First Amendment, because that's close to home. The real concerning to me is the threats to the staff here. This county's a good county. Our staff here should not have to put up with threats. So we have common ground on that. But now, here's where I have some concern. The commissioners, the two that have written this, have stated that he caused threats on the county staff. Think about that. Caused threats on the county staff. So I want to ask, do you commissioners believe that certain speech causes those hearing that to lose control and then break laws? Because that's what I heard here over and over. He caused these people to call in. And that's the whole premise of speech, free speech. I can say things And it doesn't cause you to do anything. You can listen to me or you can ignore me.
Well, when I'm told don't leave this room, I have to be escorted by 2 deputies to my vehicle
Yes.
because of threats on this building and us? That is not a threat toward me?
Whose threat is it? You know, he's not the one doing it. Whoever called in needs to be arrested.
And I agree with you 100%.
Okay, but I'm just saying that, okay, let me ask you, if you made a statement and you got up and said something, I'm not going to pretend what it is, you just said something, and somebody in the audience took offense to that, and then they started calling in and saying, Gerald, I'm going to do this, we're going to, making all kinds of threats and stuff because Gerald made a statement. Would that then be your fault? And let me say this, because this is what you're saying. You're saying that because somebody can't stand free speech, they make threats, and now who are we going to, take it out on? We're going to take it out on the guy that's speaking. That's what's called subverting the First Amendment. And
Mr. Chairman, we've heard from Mr. Kaufman for 15 minutes, so that's fine. Let's let him go ahead and talk.
I'm almost
Michael.
finished, if it's worth anything.
No, go ahead. This is great. It's what we need to hear.
So I'm just saying
What
to
should have
you
been told
that, if it was reversed, because it's so easy to offend people. I've probably offended 100 in the audience already. So easy to offend. I don't think you should be removed from office because you stood up and said something that I was offended by. I believe I should suck it up. It's your right to have that free speech. And if I started threatening somebody, that's me, that's on me, it's not on you. You're just doing what you think is right. You're speaking your mind. So when you twist the First Amendment, as you have done here today, and you say, look, his speech caused the threats, I object to that. Because the threats were caused by somebody that's mentally deranged or got some agenda, and there's a movement in our society today to curtail free speech by this method. If you say the wrong thing, we're going to attack, physically attack. And I would plead with the commissioners, don't fall into that trap. It's not Coy Griffin that's the issue here, it's whoever's making the threats. Focus on that, get them arrested, get the FBI on them. I'm almost through. Some of the other stuff on free speech, and by the way, I want to say again, I don't agree with this man. I'm not on what he's saying. I have a respect for his right to say it. But, quote, he has repeatedly insulted other public officials. Well, that's a free speech issue. As far as I know, okay to do that. He has made racist statements. Bad thing to do if it were true, but also a free speech issue.
Well, the remark when he called our governor a little, I don't know exactly what he called her, something Nazi, little short, something Nazi, that's not a racist deal?
So
Nazi
if
is a nationality.
Let's say it was racist. Let's just pretend for a minute that we agree that he's the worst racist in the world, and by golly, he ought to be recalled. Let's say that. I don't necessarily agree with it, but say it. It's his right to stand up and make an ass of himself. If he wants to stand up and say, I'm a racist and I think this and I think that, that's fine, because he's going to get booted out of office doing that. But it's his right to say it. And anyway, Commissioner Griffin has called repeatedly for violence. Well, that's borderline. First of all, it's borderline from the fact I'm not sure that's really what he said. There's a lot more to that. Second of all, it could be illegal. He told a reporter that governors of Virginia and Michigan were traitors who should be hanged. Well, as Commissioner Griffin's explained, there's a little bit left out of that sentence. It's sort of a selective quote where the tail end of it was cut off, the part about if they are convicted of treason, which, as Commissioner Griffin's said, that's actually out of the Constitution. I mean, he didn't just make that up. It's actually true. Okay, last. So, I read the stuff about work ethics. And I've been through a few commission meetings, and I want to say again to you guys, it's hard. Hundreds of hours, you got to have that cast iron butt to sit through these meetings, and things like budgets and things are just overwhelming. I would like to quote Pam over there because she's a county manager. She's been here a long time. How long have you been here, Pam?
14 years.
Yeah. So, long time. She in an interview with the press said, a quote, "The position can be full-time or part-time depending on how much work a commissioner invests in it." I think that's a fair summary. I've seen commissioners personally that have worked, 100 hours a week seemingly. I've seen others that just show up. So there's a wide range of acceptable performance from a commissioner. And it's easy if you're sitting and looking at somebody else, say, well, they don't work hard enough. Man, I'm down here all the time. I never see them. But the point is, there's really not any rules or standards. If you had a time clock and you could punch in and, we could see, well, how many hours did you work, or how many hours did you work, and how many did you work? Then you could compare them and say, well, he didn't work enough hours. But that's not how it is. There's no standards. So this is just kind of he said, she said. I don't like what he's doing. He's not doing enough. And he's saying, oh, wait, I did a lot. And so you're into who the hell knows? If you were running a business and you tried to fire an employee for this alleged thing, you would have nothing to stand on because you don't have any measurements to talk about that employee. And if the commissioners want to do that, then set up a system where you punch a time clock, where you measure your performance somehow. I think that's a joke. You're as elected, each of you is a person of integrity, and you should be trusted that you're doing your work. You wrote things in that context. Lawsuits have been filed against the county because of Commissioner Griffin. Well, that's a statement. Can't argue with it. But I would point out to you that that's not the first time a lawsuit's been filed against this county, and especially against a particular commissioner's actions. I won't ask how many, but I know for a fact there's more than one. There's been an endless series of incidents with Commissioner Griffin. And I object to the word endless because it's not true. There's probably has been a series of incidents, but I'm not sure, hey, a commissioner that's doing their job is going to have problems like that with incidents. There was a commissioner recently that, went into the forest and tried to cut trees and caused all kinds of problems for Otero County, expensive problems. So I don't know if you're just throwing an accusation, but you're not giving any weight to it. So we don't know if that's important or not. And then his actions consumed an enormous amount of time, same comment to that. And the same thing with the first day. He's always been a cowboy for Trumper and not a Otero County commissioner. I want to go back and just say, please, guys, truce, please. The county needs you guys. We need the commission to work together. We got real issues in the county. We got more issues coming up with this present government. We all need you guys to work together. I don't know how I can convince you that the solution is not to fight one another, but it would be better to find a way. How can we make a truce? In the case of Mr. Griffin, Commissioner Griffin, and you guys trying to get rid of him, I say to you, let the process that we have go forward. He's under possible recall right now. That'll take care of what your concerns are. That's a good way to do it. The press release idea is the worst thing you could do for the county. I say withdraw it, and let's draw a truce. Coy, quit, you quit, stop doing this fighting, and work together. And I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Walt. Thank you, Walt.
All right, I promise, I'm gonna keep it quick. I just want to say that, you know, I'm half black, I'm half white, and I just want to say that I'm not offended, and I actually kind of agree with him. And I feel like this, Neville Chamberlain, Republican appeasement of the left has got to stop. Because I'm telling you right now, this is a two-party system. It's like a marriage. It's like a man and a woman. The woman checks the husband checks the wife. But right now all I see is the Democrats just trying to check the Republicans, but the Republicans aren't doing anything to check the Democrats. You got to stop that. And then you talk about due process. Due process. I just want to say something about due process. I got this quote right here. It says, the United States Supreme Court stated in the year 1856 that the words due process of law were undoubtedly intended to convey the same meanings by the law of the land. In the Magna Carta, Lord Coke, in his commentaries on those words, said they mean due process of law. The Constitution, which had been adopted by the several states before the formation of the federal Constitution, the words, but by the judgment of his peers, or the law of the land. So anytime you hear that word due process, that's synonymous with a jury trial. And
I watched this at the last meeting and many of the meetings and figured, well, this will burn itself out eventually like a lot of it does, and it didn't. And then I work all over the state and I hear about our county, this going on. When I graduated from Alamogordo High School, I went into the Army, served for many years when it wasn't an actual honorable thing at the time. We weren't heroes as the end of Vietnam, and we were a bunch of whatever they called us then. My son is now about to retire after 20 years as an Army Ranger, 6 tours over there in Iraq and Vietnam. And I'm not saying that any citizen that didn't serve is not as honorable as the ones that did serve, because that's gotten a little carried away too. But we stood there for everybody's right to say what they have to say. Your right to say what you have to say. We stood there for the black athletes to say what they had to say. And to say, I hadn't heard that saying in so long. If they don't like it, go back to Africa in 15 years. Problem is, there was white folks that took a knee too. I didn't hear them say go back to Germany, go back to France, or anything else. So, yes, it is a racist statement. I didn't agree with them. I told you I don't agree with them. There's a lot of things wrong with that. But I do support the right for them to say it. And if you do, you should have said the same thing. So, not agree with it, but to say they had the same, because otherwise you're shutting them down just like this this cancel culture's doing. You're doing the same exact same thing as that they are doing. Now, I hear that everyone else is the problem for your problems. You made your choices. You got to deal with it. And I'm sorry for you and your family to go through it, because there are a lot of nasty people out there. But when I watched this on the Zoom last month. I started looking up these things. And that's what I do. I'm just one of these nutcases that I hear a fact. I don't believe it until I've proven it to myself. In fact, I have a saying about people that read this stuff or hear this stuff on their cell phone or whatever. They're basically soundbite zombies. They hear this soundbite and they follow it just like a zombie, and even if it means walking off the cliff. Commissioner, my only problem is every time you said you represented Otero County, you were wearing that shirt or that hat or the collar. Not once did I see you wearing the Otero County emblem representing that. Now, I support almost everything you talk about when it comes to constitutional things. The right, weapon, own guns and the whole thing like that. This thing has gotten out of control than everything else. But sometimes it's got to be handled in a better way than what you've done in this last year. If you really were representing Otero County, then wear an Otero County shirt next time you talk to one of my representatives or you're representing us. I just, oh, and on the record, I voted for Trump. So neither here or there. Not that I like the guy. He should have kept his mouth closed too. He might have still stayed president, but he was one of the most effective presidents of all time, if you look at his record of what has accomplished. The problem here is people are talking about First Amendment rights, your right to speech. These two commissioners have a right to speak too, and that's what they did with this resolution. This resolution has no legal thing to make you, but they have the right at the same time to say they don't like what's going on. We can nitpick the pieces apart if we want, and that's a waste of time. A press release, at some point the other commissioners in this county had to stand up because you were representing yourself as a county commissioner. I work for Taos County, I work for San Miguel, I work for 17 of the counties in this state at one time or another, and I work for 6 of them right now. And all I hear is what's going on in Otero County? What's a bunch of nutty people down there? Your presentation sucks. Let's put it that way. I agree with a lot of what you're standing for, but this is not the way to do it. And it wasn't the way to do it. The problem is here, First Amendment is true, but when you were standing up as an Otero County Commission, you were representing me, you're representing everybody, including the Democrats, including the ones that don't support you, the ones that don't like you. That's your job when you took this oath to stand as a commissioner. And when it got turned around to this other stuff, you have a right to do that, but you don't have a right to do that as an Otero County Commission presenting these issues like it's Otero County's position. The thing that certain thing happened not too long ago, and I won't get into details, and a certain individual in the Democratic Party, came to me and was upset about what happened. And I said, it's being corrected. And I said, well, I've never been an R&D guy. I'm an R&W guy. And she says, what's an R&W? She thought I was talking about the Whigs party before the Republicans even existed. It's like, no, I'm not going that far back. No, I'm not a Republican Democratic guy. I'm a right and wrong guy. I don't care what your R or D is after your name. I don't care who you support or don't support. The issue is the issue. And this thing has gotten so out of, I agree, you serve, but leave this stuff alone, all of you, and let the system take care of it. But at the same time, you have a right to express, this is not Otero County, of what's been said. My biggest concern, Commissioner, with you is you have a right to speak. But you have to be wise enough to understand the words that come out will be used and can be and have been used against you. Death threats on county employees because of the way your words came out. Maybe that's because you came from doing what you did before. You gave your sermons and your speeches and you gave your feelings of what it was because it was your thing. Over here, this is our thing. So when those words and those speeches come out, they need to be geared towards our thing, not necessarily your thing. And that's where things are going wrong. And that's my biggest problem is you don't understand that these words have consequences. And at some point you got to take responsibility for that and say, okay, let's move on, let's do this right, and we'll go from here. I had all kinds of things to say, but it doesn't serve any purpose because you guys are just going to go round and round just like you're doing right now. Recommendations, you I do recommend that the resolution and the letter be approved, that be approved. It is what it is. You've already stated what it is. You either support it or you don't. I recommend you stay where you're at. But when you stay there, come in here and talk about Otero County stuff. When you give an example, another example I saw at the meeting that really bugged me, I see details maybe others don't. The last meeting, when they got the commissioner's business, Commissioner Mallory discussed things that were going on, things he was watching. Commissioner Marquardt discussed legislation and all this other stuff. Came to you, you wanted to do a prayer. That's great. If I'd been in the audience, I would have stood up. It's not because I don't really agree with the prayer. It's that item is for you to tell me what you've done for this county, or what you're doing about this county, or what your concerns about this county was, and you took your time with stuffing a prayer in there, and basically didn't tell me what you did for this county. That's what everybody's upset about. That's what everybody's upset about. And when the county business gets lost in all this other stuff, then you're not effective. It's hard for you to get things passed because they're suspicious of why. Us as people, you say people that don't like you. No, they don't like what you've done in some of these things. Has some of your words been twisted? Yeah. My granddaughter's Mescalera. I don't like what happened. But I also know the politics. But I also know it's a sovereign nation. They may be county residents, but they're also citizens of a sovereign nation. And they need to work that out too. So, again, just step back down and think about how that's going to be perceived, especially in the way this world is right now. It's and I'm not one of those that thinks the country's going to hell. Excuse me the words, but if you know anything about history, which I do know, this country's been up and down and up and around and all around and everything else. Our honorable founding fathers were not as honorable as everybody says they were, but they were our founding fathers and they did great things. But this ain't unique. This ain't unique. It's just you got phones that are telling everybody what's going on, their side of it, and everything else. So hopefully it's back to that and get back to just do the commission's business and no more agenda items about Cowboys for Trump, no more agenda items about Commissioner Griffin. Have your say, which you have a right to say, and bring county business to the county meetings. That's all.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Commissioner Marquardt, you have anything? All right. Request approval to ratify the press statement issued on January 19th, 2021, calling on Commissioner Griffin to resign. I'll make a motion for approval.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay.
No.
Aye. So let's back up to item 15. Is that where we left off? Can I have just like a minute or two?
Nicole sent us a NIPA request already.
Still support us. Well, I appreciate the balls to go, appreciate the guts to go up there and say it, but hang in there. Thank you. We just gotta get the country back on track.
That's right.
I just feel like people like yourself